Hey everyone, no Nate this week, no Ginger Man. Nobody still don't know where Ginger Man is. So got in part of the Mexican mafia. We've got my boys here. We've got Johnny Bravo, we've got Doom, and we've got Monster in the Iron Mask.
What's going on,
So
dude?
we're now looking
What's
at
up,
like
man?
three different time zones, boys. How's it
Yeah.
going? Thanks for turning up.
Oh, thanks for
Yeah,
inviting us, man.
the
Absolutely.
I
cat
just
says
want
that too.
Canelo saying hi.
Yeah,
That's
you didn't
cool.
hear him? Yeah, just said hello.
Yeah, it's funny the whole Mexican mafia thing, right? We're kind of running with it,
yeah, yeah,
but like out of us three, like I'm the only Mexican related guy here, right?
yeah.
Shout out to Elusive. I think Elusive's with his
He's on my side of town, no? He's on the East Coast.
yeah, I think he went to visit family. So yeah, shout
Yeah,
out to him.
And shout
yeah,
out
man.
to Vic as well. Vic isn't here, but Vic's
Shout
part
out
of
to
the crew.
Vic too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The crew, the crew's getting bigger, boys, isn't it? It's getting fucking bigger.
Yeah, yeah, we added Johnny, we added you, Retro. I mean, we added, True Blue also. Shout out
Yeah.
True Blue.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, everybody's invited, man. Come on, Melfi,
yeah.
Swami, everybody is invited.
As part of the mafia, you guys work for us now. You know.
He's- yeah, y'all gotta talk to Sergio. He's crazy.
And I've
Not
got
just fun, man.
fucking I've got the People's Choice Award winners sat with me now as well, haven't I?
There it is.
Oh man,
The
yeah,
fucking
Nah.
People's Choice. That killed me. When I saw it, I was like fucking pissing my pants on the floor.
Hey, hey, listen. I don't know how many times I could say it, man, but big shout out to you know the homie Retro because I mean I think that was like that's the biggest thing I've ever seen as far as like hobby stuff, man. You know.
yeah. That was fun. That was fun.
It was. It was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
I don't
So
think it hit
I
me
want
to
to. I can never give you enough
that.
like praise on that because it's just so cool, man. You know.
No, but it's all of us, isn't it? Me and Nate both said like it's fucking. It is all of us. I mean, I had a stupid idea. So basically, how it happened is I've been messaging Ginger. I said I want to do something on mental health because I used to have a website with mental health, like the
Mm.
climb out rock climbing and using rock climbing to solve like your problem, not solve your problems, but you know what I mean. Take
Yeah.
your mind off shit, and it was huge. It was fucking big. Like it went on for a few years. And so I said to Ginger, I said, I want to do something on mental health on my album. I said, because we're all fucking nutters and we all have our problems. Everybody has
Yeah,
our problems. I said, so. And then
Hmm.
Ginger couldn't make it. And then I hooked up with True Blue and we did it. And then, like, just straight after the stream, I just said to Ned, shall we do a 24-hour show for mental health? Like, just for fucking. And he just jumped straight on it.
yeah,
And then from there, like, we got in touch with you boys. You boys said straight away, fucking. I didn't tell you, but I booked the fucking Mexican mafia in before I'd even asked you. I said to Nick, I said, I said, I'm
Hmm.
booking him and the Lucifer Sergio free and straight away. He said, have you asked him? I said, no. And then shout out to Fred and Ian because they like, I think they were the first artists
Hmm.
straight away to jump on. And
yeah,
just everybody just fucking blew up, didn't it? But we got bigger and better plans for next year because there's a lot of shit that didn't work out how I wanted it to work out, and things overran, and we had to kick people out, and blah blah blah. But change for next year, boys.
yeah,
It
man.
will
Yeah.
change.
It was all love though, you know, and
Yeah.
that was the cool part, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like
I mean, shit like
we wish there was like a platform that was like where you could that could be like possible, you know, and we don't have like the choppy internet. We could all like see like clearly and stuff. Like that
well,
was a
the
good time,
shit
man.
like we've stuck with. So we've got the mentalcon.org. We've got the email. We set up the YouTube channel. We just got to wait 2 weeks for it to come through.
Mm.
But it's shit like off the back of what you were saying, Sergio, and you said, why don't we all get together? So once a month, we're going to have something we're going to call it the check-in on YouTube.
Yeah,
And
that's
just
cool. That's a cool name.
from your idea and Melfi's idea for the name, once a month, maybe the end of the month or so, we're just going to get as many people as we can in the mental con stream for fucking whatever and just like chat
yeah,
shit. You don't have to chat like mental health, just like Just show the love. The love on that. Like I said, we've got fucking Johnny here now in Hawaii. We've got fucking Doom in Texas, Sergio in fucking Miami, me in a little shitty town in the north of England in Wigan. Like, but for the fucking hobby of being mates, like, how would we ever fucking come to this? It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yep.
No, that's the awesome part. I mean, yeah, I think the biggest effect after doing that is just being able to jump on live with a bunch of people that you kind of know on Instagram, you kind of know from these groups, and being able to talk to them for a while, and uh yeah, just felt like open communication with other people who collect. And
Yep.
I know for me, like usually I stay to myself and our little circle, but it's cool to see other people who are you know the same passion for this stuff, and being able to interact with them, letting all the little cliques join together for a little while. That was pretty cool.
Mm.
It was very cool.
Yeah,
We've all got our group. We've all got our little groups, haven't we? You know what
yeah,
I mean? It's not anybody being a wanker. It's just certain people get on with certain people, don't they? And that's fucking it. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with
Right.
that. That's good. It's all good. But we got a
Yeah.
Sergio. No, nobody else has got a Sergio, have they?
I don't.
I
Private,
stay I
private
stay
group.
pretty to myself, man. You know,
See, if Elusive
I
was
stay
here,
pretty to
he
myself.
backed me up. Sergio says he stays to himself. He's
I
mixing
do.
with everybody. He's having little conversations with everybody. See how it goes, man.
I mainly ride by myself. But hey, like my line's always open. I feel like just like other people's here, like if someone shot a line to Johnny Bravo, I think he'd respond. Same with Retro, you know.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
of course,
So
yeah. Fucking hell,
my,
yeah.
my my line's always open. So that's like
And,
I said, it's you know what I will say this. It's cool to be in a different contrast than it was like maybe like a year ago, whatever, when people were like going like acting all weird and crazy. Like I feel like it's like the water's like settled. Guys, we're all here like in the same like chat
I
here.
think we've all,
Like we're
I
all
think
doing
we've
the same
all,
stuff, and it's like let's do
I think
stuff
we've
together.
all,
Why not? That's where like the idea
I
came
think we,
from. It's just like why not?
I think we've opened up, because like fucking over 2 years ago when I was getting into Marvel, I more or less kept myself to myself. Like I did message certain people, Fausto and Justin and Swami and that, and in the
yeah,
end I just thought, oh, it's not for me. Like I'm gonna keep myself to myself. I'm happy doing my research and like me
yeah,
just digging deep and this, that, and the fucking other. And then I think somehow I don't even know fucking how. It's just like everybody seemed to like chill out more and swear a bit more and say what they want a bit more and be more fucking. That was the idea behind the Jerks podcast. I said to Ginger, I said if I'm doing it, I said I'm being me. I said I'm not having none of that shit like no swearing and no saying this or not saying what you think. So if I'm doing it, I'm just being me. And I
yeah,
think that's what everybody's done, isn't it? They've all chilled out now and like the stupid money's gone out of it a bit and fucking
yeah,
people who love base cards have found other people who love base cards as much as fucking PNGs or one of ones or whatever. And I reckon that's the difference in it a bit. But it's cool, anyway. It's all good. I love it.
yeah. I think people let their guards down a little bit. Just it wasn't. The little cliques formed, I guess, out of like you just don't know. You're new to the hobby. You don't know who to trust. You don't know who's going after what, and you become protective over the information you have. But now we've been here for a while. I think everyone kind of knows each other's lane, and you know it's easier to communicate. I mean, most of us have pretty much happy with what we have so far, so we're not really protective over anything. And
Right.
Mm,
the hobby grew, and more videos on YouTube, and you see more people, on camera, and you feel a little bit more relaxed to interact with them. And yeah, we're in a good spot now.
I think so, yeah. I mean, the shit like I just realised the other day I emailed Johnny 2 years ago. I didn't even know it was Johnny then. Asking for a car. I was after this Len Wein auto. I told the story before. And Fausto said, "Oh, I said it's in Hawaii." He said, Said, oh no, one person in Hawaii, just email him, tell him Fausto sent you. And I emailed Johnny. I only realised last week. Just got an email back saying, no, I don't have that card. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then it clicks 2 years later. It's like, fuck me, that guy who I fucking emailed in Hawaii. Like, I'm just talking to him now. And it's fucking
Yeah,
mad,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
You know, how, yeah, I love that. I love shit like that, just. And it's a shitty story. It's only important to me because I like it. And Johnny's here now. You know what I mean? But it's fucking, yeah, it's good.
It's weird how it comes full circle sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really fucking weird, Johnny. And then, like, I've been looking at your collection. I've seen you on Instagram and that anyway. And like when you've been showing the card recently, we've been messaging and that, like, and realised we both love the same type of fucking cards. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just like fuck me. So like, a strange message I sent a random stranger 2 years ago. I meet him, and we like the same kind of shit. We both love fucking Wolverine. Like, I mean, you take it to another level. But when I look at your cards and the cards you love, I think like, fuck me, I need to get these binders back out because I've already got some cool Wolverine shit. I don't need the 5K fucking, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
No. See, when you were pulling your binders out, that was blowing my mind because I love those old comic images sets, and it's like when you had the Wolverine trivia, and then you had the From Then Till
Yeah,
Now one, From Then Till Now two. To me, that's the gold right there. I love those sets, and
So underrated. Those sets are so underrated, man. You know, there's a lot of cool cards in that and those comic
so much
images.
great art.
Yeah, there's a
And
lot of
it's like
stuff in there.
that's like that showcases the Bronze Age too. So it's like,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true. I
yeah.
didn't think about that. Yeah.
But
yeah,
don't
What
worry
do,
about
what
that. You know what I'm
what do you look at most, John? What do you look at most, Johnny? You know, your Wolverine collection. What do you dig out most and look at and fucking go over and that?
for Wolverine,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
like what am I looking for?
No, like
No,
what's your like
what?
favorite thing to look at, from your collection that you go visit
Ah,
back?
like probably the art. Honestly, that's like the first thing I always go to. Because like
Yeah,
even when the PMGs came out, I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. I'm not a big fan of like any of the PMGs right now that Wolverine has. When the
Yeah.
2013 came out, I wasn't the biggest fan of that art. I almost got a blue one because blue's my favorite color, and the art looks good with the blue foiling, but it just wasn't something I needed. And then
Right.
the 2015 one came out, and it's nice too. But I like the more traditional looking Wolverine, at least with the costume, or at least like. But what I notice a lot is like they crop it funny. Like they always leave his hands and his claws out. And then I gotta
yeah,
say, like when the Spider-Man metal came out, it's nice, but to me they cropped it too close. Like
Yeah.
that's a great
yeah,
iconic image of Wolverine, and they cut it to where it's just basically his shoulders and his head and his like his chest. To me, you gotta
yeah,
show that whole
yeah,
piece of art, that great Herb Trimp drawing.
Yeah.
Um, and they cut it too close, so it's like there's so far none of the PMGs I'm real crazy about. The Venomized one does look really good though. I will say that that one looks really good.
Yeah, that one's sick.
Yeah, that that one I must admit is very nice. But it's definitely more art than like the rarity or the number on it for me personally.
Yeah, just the presentation of the card, the
Yes,
design they chose. Yeah. Yeah, I was
definitely.
someone asked me this week, I think it was Obi Din, like what was my favorite Doom card. And a lot of those, like a lot of my collection, I kind of split it and I, gifted it away to the homies, but the you know, it's weird at this point. Like you just have like a mental library and like mental scans of like each
Right.
card when you've been chasing it for so long, and it always goes back to like the portraits, face up, like close up portraits for me are always my
Yeah.
favorites. Like the the masterpieces. I think the Hildebrandt '94 is like a big one.
Yeah.
yeah,
The Jusco 2016, and
Yeah.
'92 also when he's
The Doom, especially Doctor Doom, he has a lot of great portraits for his
yeah.
cards. Like
Yeah,
even
he
like the
has
'93 masterpieces.
the Glenn. Was it
The,
Glenn Fabry? I think did that one.
yeah,
Yeah, that's such a cool one.
And you have the Jusco, and then there's like the Panini one with the Ribbit. He said Ribbit.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
yeah,
there's a the portraits. I don't know. Maybe it's the simplicity of just the face and the mask and like the background. I always like putting. And then you have the Jim Lee onslaught, which also is like a portrait. So
right. Beautiful.
it's a bunch of those. Those are probably my favorite ones.
Those are all beautiful cards.
Yeah,
The good thing about Doom is like there's so much fucking history, isn't there? You know, like you can
tons.
dig so deep, like Sergio does. You
Yeah,
can go like fucking next level deep, can't you?
Yeah, Sergio's crazy with the comic books.
yeah.
He's being
Sergio,
quiet right now, but he's crazy. No, like
yeah.
before we started recording, he was going on for like 40 minutes.
No, that's
This
not
is what I
true.
wanted.
We
This
shared.
this is what I want to talk about now, Sergio.
Yeah, man.
Uh,
What's
Come
up,
on.
bro?
Talk about
the
Fantastic Four,
con-
dog. Come on.
Oof.
Cheers for showing us like fucking going on IG again. This is why the community is fucking amazing in the internet. So Sergio, you went on IG, didn't you? And he's like you was videoing some of the con and showing people and that. Do you want to tell us about your day and what went on? And yeah,
Oh man, yeah, yeah. The SuperCon, honestly, I'll be honest. When I saw the announcement, I was pretty critical on SuperCon just because, like, I felt like they didn't have enough like variety on like the artist alley. As far as like, that's the reason why I go to cons and like little stuff like that. To meet some of the artists, to meet some of the writers, the people that
Yeah.
actually like make the
yeah,
comics.
Mhm.
And I went there for a signing specifically for John Beatty. I wanted to get the UK Secret Wars and Zoids that magazine signed by John Beatty. I'm trying to get Mike Zeck. I hear he's in like some, I think he's like Philippines or something like that. He's lost in the sauce. So I don't
Mhm.
know when I'll get that signature, but I figure I start with John, and I got that one, and I got the Mexican Spider-Man Secret Wars 10.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
So tight.
I got those two, and I showed it to him. I showed him a couple of the German ones too. I have a couple of German copies, so I got him to sign the Secret Wars 1 in German. It's a pretty clean copy. And it's just fun, man. Like it's almost like you're collecting cards, but it's different parallels, right? It's kind of like what's going on.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a little more crazy than cards though. Come on, be
it
honest.
just gets
Just
yeah,
a bit.
it gets a little more crazy. It's a little more crazy. But
Sergio.
that's what makes it more exciting,
Yeah.
And it's just like one of those things that I'll show them soon. Like I've showed off a few, so you can't even say I haven't. I showed off a fair amount.
How many
What was it?
lightsabers did you see today?
Woo, man, the booths were. I mean, yeah. Listen, that's mainly like cosplay, which I think is really cool. And I
Yeah.
always say that, like, I'm not a cosplayer. Like, I did have someone ask me, like, a friend, like, she's like, hey, she spoke to me today. She's like, did you wear like the mask to the con? And I'm like, fuck, I should go wear like an End of Doom mask to the con, hoodie up,
There you go.
go out there, like, hang out with the artists. It's just cool. You know what I mean? I had a good experience with John Beatty. Shout out to him. Uh, I'll share a little bit of that story. So he was the main reason why I was going. There
Mhm.
wasn't that many more artists. Like a lot of them are modern, and like, hey, look, like no disrespect, maybe one day they'll be like classics, but it's just not my stuff. Like I like the older stuff, so that's just kind of like the lane that I'm in. And
Yeah.
John Beatty inked Secret Wars, the Secret Wars run, and
Yeah.
I just had a chat with him, and it was just cool because uh, you know I think he realized like pretty quick that I was like a fan. Like I wasn't here to just pick up a couple of things to like flip. Like I got a lot of things personalized for the homies,
Yeah.
uh, and I just had a good experience with him, man. Like he personalized a couple of things for a few people, and he realized like, hey, man, like if a collector's no collectors, right? Like so he definitely
Yeah.
knew that some stuff are going out to some people. It's personalized. It's not for a flip. And I think he just opened up, and we just started talking about his experiences, like when he was. So I personally asked him. I said, "Look, Secret Wars is my hands down favorite comics run.
Yeah.
I got the set. I locked it down like 2 years ago from a friend. He sold it to me a bunch of newsstands, really clean copies, for like $40, man. And doing we knew each other. I told you that story.
Nice.
Yeah.
And he did it because again, it's just one of those like collector things. Like when I walked in, like I was looking for stuff, and he noticed I was there for a while. He asked me like, "Hey, like are you looking for anything?" And I'm like, I told him what I specifically was looking for, and they weren't in those back issues. He pulled it out from like this little drawer, and he pulled out an entire run minus the 8, and he's like $40. Because after our conversation, he's like, okay,
Yeah.
But to John Beatty, man, he opened up, and I asked him like, hey, like we are talking about life experiences and how he almost didn't even like make it like all the way through like to Marvel, and conversations with Jim Shooter. I asked him like, hey, like where were you mentally when you wrote, or sorry, when you inked the run for Secret Wars, like where were you at like mentally? And he's just like, man, I was like 23 years old. He was crashing at Mike Zeck's place. All right. So they're both Florida boys, from my understanding, or they were living in Florida. John Beatty's from Daytona, and I believe Mike Zeck, he said, was from Hollywood. And he was just crashing at his place, 23 years old, like barely making it by. And he definitely didn't expect 20, 30 years down the road that this is like where we'd be.
That's crazy.
And it's just it was just a good experience, man. Like it was just like honest conversation, his experiences. I have a couple clips or whatever that I'll share with you guys later for sure. But he just loved everything. I just loved everything about his experience, man. Like that's why you go to this stuff, because these guys are the last of the dying breed. Like these are for some of those like golden, like bronze and silver age books. Like man, like there's only a few of them left, guys. Like we lost a big one this year. Show love to your artists. These guys that wrote these these classic iconic like books. And it's just something special, man. It's something for the PC, and I think he realized that, and I think that's why I was like showing love, man. It's just very cool to like have a cool experience like that with an artist that, I don't think he understands how many lives he's impacted himself through his comics.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy, and every time and it's not even like it's super rare to get like a John Beatty like signature, but for me it's just special because it's like this is my PC, like this is stuff that there's not 100 of these out there. Like this is it's so just try to keep it close to heart, man. It was just a cool experience, and for sure, like I think I said it like in the NSDC podcast, like I think cons are a thing, because for me, like for my personal, like every 2 times a year hit a con, like the beginning and the middle of the year, end of the year, and just hit up different states, man, because like it'd be cool to get like some Jim Lee stuff, a couple of these prints, and I mean it's just dope, man. I love like the comic community like that, where like I'm willing to travel and do like cool stuff like that to go see, even if it's just one artist, and I went there and I did my due diligence and I had a great time.
That's
awesome.
That's dope, man.
Yeah, man.
I mean, what makes it special is he's a big part of one of your favorite runs, so
yeah,
that's huge. And
absolutely, man.
Yeah, getting to interact with the creator of all this stuff that you have nostalgia for. I haven't gone to a con at all. Never. I need to go one day. I just, me. I just don't like. I don't like going outside, man. I don't like being around too many people.
Yeah. But I don't listen. I don't either. Like I'm in and I'm out. But like, man, it's just, for someone like you that also loves like the history of some of this stuff.
Yeah, I love the history for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
I always support doing going outside.
Yeah, I gotta make that right one day.
If someone tells me Jim Lee's coming to town, I'm going outside my house.
See, that's the thing. What the part with like the Doom stuff for me, it was never nostalgia. Like I didn't grow up with it. It was just the design and the history that was interesting to me. I think maybe Bruce Timm pops around Dallas, something from my childhood, like it would have to be like Batman animated related or something like that for me to go out. But I'm sure for when I go, I'll like the experience and I'll keep trying to do it. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to Free. He's always trying to get me to go. I think he stopped after he got the hint that I didn't want to really leave my house. But he's always everywhere. So he loves that too.
Yeah.
That
think
stuff sounds nice.
think it's been a while since we had one in Hawaii. I've been trying to keep track,
Mm.
and I know after the Rona, I don't even know if they came after that yet.
Came back. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of
But
those I guess they were they shut down during the pandemic. Um yeah. Yeah, that's something I need to get, off the checklist.
Yeah, man.
so
It's definitely
Sergio,
something. What's up, man?
what's the longest you waited in line to meet a creator?
Ever?
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes for Bianchi.
Wow. Okay,
What?
so when
Yeah, I waited like
when we
five
had
minutes.
the when we had the amazing Hawaii Comic Con, the one I went into 2015, we waited 3 hours to meet Stanley and to take a picture.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty.
That's different, man. You know, like
Yeah,
yeah,
that one was rough, but it was worth it though. I'm not saying it wasn't worth it, but it was like
100%.
it's kind of when they show you the line and you see it, it's like wow. But we weren't going anywhere. We stayed in line and we got our picture.
Yeah, man,
But
that's awesome.
it was really cool, and I'm so fortunate that we got to meet him before you know it was
Yeah. Yeah, before he was older in age.
Dude,
yeah,
I always think like I've definitely like the thought has run through my mind like fuck, man. Like if I would have like started collecting like 10 years ago, you know what I mean?
right.
Like this would
Ooh,
be like, oh my god, like
that's
this is just
dangerous.
the
Yeah.
yeah, that's just dangerous,
And you know
and
how much hoarding we would be doing? It's not.
yeah.
I don't think it would be healthy.
What do you
We
mean?
would
It's
have a
totally
nice
healthy.
collection. Yeah, that's what 10 years. I never thought about that. Wow. How long I've been doing this for like 2.5, 2 years.
There you go. So multiply that by five, and we have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it would have been crazy. It would have been crazy.
Yeah, man. But by the way, dude, Johnny, congrats on the show. I love the show with Sketch. That was cool, man.
Yeah.
You
Oh yeah, that was good.
showed off a couple things.
Yeah.
Obviously, man, it's always cool. And it's crazy. Like it like when you watch Johnny like show these like PSA 10s, like it's not like you haven't seen it before, right?
Yeah.
It's just the fact that it's in his possession, and you're like, dude, what? Like,
Well,
how do you have so many 10s?
a
Like,
lot of those you don't see anywhere else but his collection in tens,
yeah,
which
that's
is
what I'm saying. That's just crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So
mean,
Thanks,
like
man.
Johnny's a good example of like, dude, I've been doing this shit for like ever.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and just having conversations with Johnny about other stuff he collects too. Like
yeah,
you know it's definitely
Like
like a eh, what would you call it? I don't know. Like it's not. I guess we can call it a sickness, but like
it
it's
is.
def.
It is.
Yeah, that's what it is, right? Like
It's a
we
totally
just
a fine word, but it is.
yeah we
So
just
like what you touched on earlier, it's like from Marvel, Wolverine and stuff for me,
mhm.
like I use the word nostalgia, but for me, like it's always been there since I
mm,
was, since I was 7, since I discovered it. I
mm,
was very young. So to me, like the
that's
one
crazy.
thing I had nostalgia with that was recent was the OG G1 Transformers.
Mm,
Like
Oh
a
yeah.
couple years ago, before the whole craze of cards came out, it was just a controlled thing. But I went out and I got all the old G1 Transformers that I had as a kid,
Yeah.
and that's when I felt nostalgia. I was like, oh wow, because like you get memories you forgot you even had of
Yeah.
these things, and
yeah,
it's like it was a nice experience going through that. But like
Yeah.
I was able to get in and get out of that. Like I got the toys I had, and I was able to every now and then I'll get like an Optimus Prime or whatever, but it's not like anywhere near what I do with Wolverine. But
Yeah.
it was a nice trip.
Yeah.
the,
It is.
Jo-
It is
Johnny,
like
let
a.
me.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, 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 go ahead, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say it is like a weird time travel that
Yeah,
you know how they say what you listen to a song and it takes you to a place in time where there's a certain smell and you get there.
yeah. it
Like
takes you back to that moment. Just like
takes you back. Right now, for me, it's like the Turtles, like the new Turtles movie that they're announcing soon. Like
yeah,
it's gonna be released. Like just seeing like the products for that new version everywhere. You
yeah,
know, they're doing cereal boxes, they're doing the new figures, they're doing. It just reminds me of back in our version of the Turtles
yeah.
was like Turtle Mania everywhere, and it's happened all over again.
It was crazy, and that was like I think that was just before I discovered X-Men because I got into Turtles before too, and then the cartoon and like I had all the I had most of the main figures. So like the turtles I got, it was so early. All my four main turtles were all the soft heads, and
Okay,
then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I had like the Splinter, the Shredder, um, and
Yeah, those
then
are the more
that's
rare ones, no? Like
yeah.
from
Those are like I think those are like the original pressings. I don't know if they did like only one pressing with the soft heads, but after that they did like the uniform
yeah, they
hard
changed it.
plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but that was like right around the time, and I got into X-Men right after that. And I still watched the cartoon and all that, but when the movie came out, the 1990 movie, that blew me
Oh,
away.
yeah, yeah,
And I watched it. Of all things, we had a drive-in theater in Kapa'a Quarry Road in Kailua,
yeah. Uh-huh.
and my uncle took me to it. Like, I got to watch Ninja Turtles in a drive-in. It was such a
Oh,
cool
wow.
experience, and it was a
Yeah.
double feature with I think it was Home Alone. I remember it being like a double feature. It was
Home
super
Alone.
cool.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I don't remember because I remember going to drive-in theaters back then. Like this whole thing about switching into a frequency in the radio, that's new stuff, right? Like back then, it was just how because I remember going like in the '90s to the drive-in. It had to be like speakers from like the the place, no? Like
The one we went to is you drive into the stall, like it's like designated stalls, and there's like a pole sticking up, and there's speakers,
little
and
speakers
you
everywhere.
put the
Yeah,
speakers on your windows, and that's what you hear.
yeah.
But I remember walking into that, and like I was expecting bebop and rocksteady, and it was just such a more grounded. But I liked that version of the Turtles more. Like, the way they
Oh
made
yeah.
Shredder. Shredder was a beast in that movie,
Yes.
and
Yeah. Sure.
just and then that's what made me, since I was buying X-Men comics, I seeked the original Eastman and Laird graphic novels, and they had them at the comic shop. I think it was Mirage Comics slash First Comics. It was the graphic novels. I think they did
Mm-hmm.
like four of them,
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up slowly getting those, and those are really good reads. I mean,
I need to get into
it's,
those, Johnny. I've never gone to. I read like the latest stuff, the Last Ronin stuff,
yeah.
but I've never gone to the original like Mirage run.
Oh, you never read the Mirage books?
No, man, and it's like
Holy smoke!
something that I know I've been saving it. I like to save things, just
There's no turning back once you read those.
because the next thing is getting all the damn toys, the Mirage toys that are coming out. That's the other
Yes,
thing.
there's a storyline, and see the thing with the first Turtles movie, it's basically they took it straight from the Mirage books.
Oh, really? Okay.
So um it's a storyline called Return to New York. It's one of the best comic storylines I've ever read.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get a chance, check
I'm
it
gonna have
out.
to do it.
And
I'm gonna have to
there's a
do it.
couple differences, like the rooftop scene in the movie where Raphael gets mobbed by the Foot. It was Leonardo in the comics,
Oh,
and
he's the one that got jumped.
yeah,
Okay.
he got jumped on the roof, and then
Yeah.
same thing happened. They fought the Foot. April's apartment building burns down. They go
Burns
to her
down.
farm, and then they come back to New York. But the end battle is way more
Oh,
wicked in the comics. So I'm not gonna
oh,
spoil
really?
anymore. But it's a really good
Nah,
read.
Yeah, because that's a
John
crazy
gets
like as a kid, like watching that battle was serious. It's
Yeah,
like, it was
I
like real
still
life for me. Yeah.
I still consider the '90 Turtle movie one of the best comic movies ever made. I
Oh
mean
yeah.
that last battle when Shredder, like, they defeat all the foot soldiers and Shredder comes down, and they don't take him seriously. Yeah, they see his armor, they're teasing him, and it's like, right, he ends up
Yeah.
holding all of them.
All of them.
And it was just that was a great scene, man.
Yeah, man. That was like, yeah, as a kid, like that was like heavy drama for me. I was
Yeah,
like, what?
it was.
I
It's
need I
they
need to
did
go
it.
read that then. I'm definitely gonna read that stuff. I've been saving it, but I need to go dive back in. And it's dangerous because then I'm gonna want to go search down some comics. I already know how this
It
goes.
is.
come,
It
And then
is.
Sergio's gonna be
come
sending
to
me
the dark side,
links all
man.
day. Like it's just bad. It's bad.
Just come to the dark side. You know you want to.
Yeah.
Yo, you listen. Doom seen some shit. He knows I have way more fun on this side. You know.
Yeah, but I mean that's scary. What you doing? You know,
It's not scary. It's just it's
it's
just
a
my
lot
thing.
of
You
stuff.
know?
It's like never ends. It's just
What do you mean?
Yeah.
It's just a couple long
it's
boxes.
worse than Pokemon, bro. Like you just gotta catch them all. Like you over there going over decades
Nah.
and countries. It's
So
weird.
sometimes you find good deals. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying.
That's true. You can find a
You
good
know.
deal. That's true.
Listen, the guy I told you at the con, remember? I'm like, dude, the gentleman called like Greg White,
Yeah,
bro. You saw the photos, man.
that was a nice
And
Batman.
that was a nice Batman. Like, I didn't know the comp on that. I looked at the condition. I was like, sounds like a good deal. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but like, dude, some of those other books, like the one that I picked up, like the one I showed you, the
Hmm.
Amazing Spider-Man, man, come on. Like, it was just too clean, man. You know, for the condition.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because something like the Batman that I believe like comic book sellers like I would say relatively like spec on, right? Because it's like, oh, like the Batman movie and like all this stuff, like he probably raised the price on that. But that book that I picked up that's like super dope and it's an old Spider-Man book, it wasn't super pricey. Why? Because he's not specking on it. It's just like, to him it's just like another comic, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But condition though, primo. Like, that guy is a fucking G, 100%. Like, that guy has some crazy books.
That's
And
dope.
his bigger books, he had a Fantastic Four #5, relatively pretty clean. You know,
He
I
just
didn't even
had
ask.
one.
I didn't even ask to touch that one. I was just like, you know what? Like, if that thing
No,
falls off my hand, like it's
it's
whatever. Like, nah, I
it's
don't even
gonna
want to touch that thing.
disappear. Yeah, you don't want to touch that. It'll disappear. Walk away.
But I will say, man, like like you say that I'm like deep in like into some stuff.
Hmm.
Dude, there's some people that do some crazy things out there with comics, bro. You know?
Some of those foreign collectors, man, like they have basically like a whole parallel run
Mm,
of every single comic, the same comic book, different versions, over like 20, 25 versions. It's ridiculous. I don't know how they
yeah.
do it. Like, how do you source and get all those books? Like how do you even find the information?
Mm.
Yeah.
It's, there's got to be like there has to be like communities that interact with email or something, right? Like from the
So,
early
listen,
internet
like
age.
they're using like a Hotmail, you know? Like, they're still
Hotmail,
those boys are still on dial up, like,
it, it
AOL.com.
it works because once they bring out their collections, it's crazy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's just crazy, and it's also crazy to see that some of those things are still around, you know?
Yeah, man.
Especially in some of these other countries. Like, you think about it, like just the same as like comics. Like, yeah, LCSs have comics, but how many of these can you actually like populate? Like, out of the entire print run from like comics that were created in the U.S., whatever's left, like, how much do you think is like a percentage can possibly be like behind?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously
Right.
there's a variance in condition, right? Like, there's good, there's bad, but like some of that stuff got thrown away. Some of that stuff,
Well, just that it
is,
survived, especially like some of like this early Silver Age and Golden Age stuff. And then I've seen like in those groups, like people have original art for that country, which is
that's
wild,
crazy.
right? Like,
So
Yeah.
you can't even say these things. Like, come on, why are you telling me
Yeah.
that?
what? Come on, like it's easy to find the information. Like I can just say it out there, go look for it. That's hard. It's not just at
No, of
least for
course.
Marvel cards. You can go to trading card database. You can go to the Alexander List website. Like there's some guidance, and for other non-sports is much more structured. They have a whole websites dedicated to it with images and everything. I think
Mm.
you do have to scramble a little bit with Marvel cards, but for the comics, like this, a lot of it is just like you see an image and now it exists. Like
Right.
it's very random that way.
Yeah,
I
yeah, and
just
then
ordered some stuff from Egypt, which
that's
is like the
cool.
first
Wow.
time I ordered stuff from Egypt, right? Like
Mm.
a bunch of Batman and Turtles books. Um, that's pretty sick. Like I've never ordered that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 it's just a different, I definitely think like when we talked about this, like when it comes to like just like solely like just cars, it's just like when there's so much out there, it's kind of hard to just stick to like one thing because at some point, it just gets boring, some
Right.
stuff gets boring. So,
Yeah, Johnny,
you
did you
just,
ever get like when you first started? Let's say, how long ago did you start? When you were small, right? When you were a kid,
Yeah,
you
I was
started
like
collecting.
like
How
7 years old. Yeah.
did you go through like okay, like you said, you went your Transformers Generation One, and then you go back to your Wolverine. Like so, you had different things to move on because I know there's like a fatigue when you're sticking to one thing over and over and over.
Once so like Transformers, what made me stop with the Transformers when I was a kid was when I watched the movie when Optimus Prime got killed. That did
Hmm.
it for me. I just couldn't deal with following through with it. But I didn't discover till I was an adult that at the end of the animated series they brought him back. Like I think
so,
mm,
the last 3 episodes they brought him back, and that
so
was the ending.
you were super tight. You're like, no, forget this. I'm out.
Yeah, yeah. So shortly after that, I got into like a couple other things like other shows. I don't know if you guys remember Brave Star.
Brave Star.
Yeah,
No,
no.
I don't
that
Wait,
remember.
is that this like they're like bird cops or something like that? They're like flying around.
it's it's like the planet they live on is like the Wild West, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Oh
like a
shit.
Native American sheriff, Brave Star. I forget what his first name was, but he's like
Oh,
a
cause he's
sheriff.
like a yeah, he's like a cowboy.
Yeah, that's it. I
Nah,
was
I've
huge
never
into
seen
that, but
this.
like our toy stores over here, nobody had toys of that, so I didn't really have toys. But I was just really into the cartoon,
Mm.
and
Oh,
then
that's cool.
I got into Dino Riders for a little bit, but those are super expensive. Um, I got I got a few of the smaller dinosaurs, and then
I I definitely remember Dino Riders,
yeah,
like
and then
cyborg T Rexes and stuff. They have
yeah,
like, yeah,
the
it's
T Rex
crazy.
the T Rex was super expensive,
Dino
and
Riders.
of all things, my uncle ended up getting it for me. It was something we yep, I had that T Rex,
Oh man, it looks
and
clean.
with my mom, she only could get me the smaller ones, and then one day my uncle came home from work and he calls me, and then like he lived downstairs, so he's standing downstairs, and I go down and I look what he has, and he has the T Rex, and my mom said it looked like I was gonna faint. I probably was, but I still have the toy and some of the armor, but I don't know. I kind of wanna restore it, like get the pieces for it and
Yeah,
just have it as a display piece because
Yeah.
it's real sentimental.
yeah.
But probably shortly after that, that's when I discovered the Marvel books. It was like the late '80s, early. I think it was like 1990.
Mhm.
That's when we used to always play video games at my friend's house, and the older brother had that copy of God Loves Man Kills, and that just did it for me.
Yeah.
And I was immediately drawn to Wolverine because, like I said earlier, he kind of embodied all those things that I was a fan with my grandpa. Like we watched the old spaghetti westerns and
Yeah.
the 1941 Wolfman, and Logan kind of is like that, like man with no name, and the Wolfman rolled into one,
Yeah.
and it just drew me in. And the costume, I mean, that costume is so
That's
cool.
iconic.
Yes,
The design is just ridiculous. Yeah, even as a kid, like Wolverine was always like number one, and then like I would have my favorite as Gambit, you
yeah.
know, but
See,
it was
the
always
school I went
Wolverine
to,
like 1A, you know.
yes, like when I was going to school, like everybody liked Gambit. I was like the only one that really liked Wolverine, but everybody else liked Gambit.
I
But
I
I
feel
mean,
like
he was super cool. He smoked
yeah
cigarettes. He threw the playing cards, the
yeah
exploding playing cards.
that voice, you know.
Yeah, the Cajun, real smooth.
Yeah.
I get it. Wolverine's the short, hairy guy with claws, but
No, I feel like for me, like I think everyone who watched it, I guess as kids, we were like, well, Wolverine's clearly like the coolest one. Like I can't go, I got to go a little counter. Everyone's gonna choose Wolverine,
Yeah,
but yeah, if everyone's choosing Gambit, then I would have gone straight to Wolverine. Like whatever
yeah,
is, you always want to root for like the second option, at least for me, like the
yeah.
underdog, right? Like you just want to. And I've
I
been
remember
watching some of
everybody.
that. I've been watching some of that back in like the first 10 episodes, and
Yeah,
I, I know Jubilee gets a lot of shit out there. I get it,
It's
with
crazy.
fireworks or whatever. But look, that first episode, Night of the Sentinels, like
It's a good episode.
she's she's the voice of the audience. Like we're
totally.
figuring it
Yeah,
all out. Her design, like those shades, that jacket, like it's
Oh yeah,
iconic for the '90s. And
yeah.
I think once we see, like, especially now with the new masterpiece card, like once you see cooler cards, a lot of Jubilee, fans are gonna come out for sure.
I I liked her from even the Wolverine run when I first started getting comics. I think the first issue I got of Wolverine was number 34, and that was Mark Silvestri and Larry Hama.
Mm.
And
Mm.
a few issues into that run, she becomes like his sidekick. And there's like a lot of great stories with her
See, I
being
need
his
to read
sidekick. Like,
those. I need to read
yeah,
those
they're
Johnnies
really
because
good.
I am very like I don't have any comic book knowledge.
Yeah,
So I know people talk about the sidekick, and you see a little bit of it in the animated
yeah,
series, but going to the actual source, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I need to
There's
read that.
there's a really great story, and I think it spans about 3 issues. It's Wolverine fighting Sabretooth in Times Square, and there's just a
Wow.
really cool part where Wolverine, he's kind of doing the Batman thing, like he's on the top of the building looking down, and
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
standing next to him, and then he ends up fighting Sabretooth, and there's this creature that Wolverine fights a bunch in that run. It's called the Hunter in Darkness,
yeah.
which is basically it's like a werewolf, but it never, I don't think it ever turns back into a human. It's just
It
this
just
big
turned the
wolf
werewolf.
creature.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now that I think about it, I think that's what he was fighting in issue 34 was that Hunter in Darkness. So
Oh, okay.
they had that thing captured in Times Square, and I think Wolverine was trying to free it, and Sabretooth ends up coming in, and I think even Lady Deathstrike comes in, and it's just a
Wow.
whole battle, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just I mean, but she's there, she's his sidekick, and she's helping him out, throwing her fireworks at them and distracting them, and
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a lot of great stuff. But yeah, she's totally like you said. She's the voice and the vision of the audience or the reader.
Yeah, and I remember, like, I guess for me, I don't know about you guys, but like for me, a lot of it is even when I was looking at like my card collection now, like a lot of what motivates my collecting in general is just the presentation, right?
Yeah,
It's
totally.
just it's something like it has to be significant in presentation for me to like want to actually keep it. I've had a lot
Yeah.
of cards that go in and out,
Yes.
but and going to like the cartoons, which was for me, it was like the only source I knew these characters from. It was always
Right.
about the introductions, like the way they introduced those characters and what I guess the first impression you would get. Definitely, Jubilee was one of those that I always had there in my mind. Like it was iconic to me because of I guess the introduction of it, and going back to watching now, like, oh, okay, no wonder, like she's like the teenager and you're like a little kid in that
Yeah.
time frame. So like that's the person that you identify with as you
Right.
start to learn this world of X-Men, if it's new to
Yes.
you at that point. So that makes sense.
Totally. She kind of parallels what Kitty Pryde was in the early '80s. Kitty
Okay.
Pryde was kind of that same thing. She's like the
For the
incoming,
comic
and
books.
yes, and
Right.
then she was even, I wouldn't say she was Wolverine's sidekick, not to the point Jubilee was, but they even did like a sequel series to the Wolverine limited series, and it's Wolverine and Kitty Pryde, and it's this
hmm
whole thing where they go to Japan, and it's a good
Okay.
story.
I
But
know I've seen like panels from it, but I've never, yeah, haven't
yeah,
really Gonna read it. Yeah,
No,
there's so much stuff.
that cover that you have Johnny with like the Japanese like signage.
Yeah,
Come on, like come on.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was Jim Lee's first cover for the Wolverine solo book too.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah.
that's
I
just
know I
that
know that
is
the first Jim Lee is what, the Alpha Flight, right?
yeah, the one where he's like leaping out of the robot.
Yeah, that's Jim
Yeah,
Lee's first Wolverine for Marvel, or something like
yeah,
Nice.
that's a cool one. And I remember when I found that, I sent I don't know if you remember, Doom. I sent like the link. I'm like, yo, this is crazy, right? Like
Hmm.
whenever I discovered that, for sure, people that have been doing comics like knew that for sure. But you know, for someone
Yeah.
that like just kind of jumped in the hobby, like to see that for the first time, I was like, wow, you know. And it wasn't even that expensive,
Yeah.
so
you know, just
I
crazy.
have this here, but so he even did. This was the cover, I think, to issue 27. So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
he did the art for the NES box, and he even did the art for the Punisher NES game.
Mm.
Oh, that's great. So that's like a game cover or what?
Yeah, the
It's a,
NES.
it's a, yeah, it's a
I
great game.
For NES, see, I've never seen this. I didn't grow up with NES or SNES, so there was a Wolverine game, and that's
Yeah,
why.
and
That's
even
why.
I didn't see this when it came out because I
No.
would have got it.
Yeah.
I didn't discover this till I was a teenager, and like me and my cousin used to go to the swap meets before it was like the hip thing to do. We used to go to the swap meets and look through their Nintendo games and Genesis games, and
Yeah.
I found the Wolverine in somebody's stack of games, and I was like, they made a Wolverine game. I never seen it at the stores because like my mom worked at a department store, and like a lot of like the grocery stores we had sold Nintendo games, and I've never
Wow.
seen the Wolverine game. Like I used to rent the NES, the X-Men game. I rented this a bunch, and it's an awful game. It's
See,
there's no
I,
redeeming qualities to it.
I'm not even familiar with that one, but the cover looks amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the whole appeal for me is just that bit of nostalgia, and the cover is beautiful.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Doing when you say I'm bad, you know, he's pulling out like, you know, multiple like all alternate versions of like video games or
Yeah,
alternate
but look,
arts.
we go down video game road. There's so much. Yeah, there's
I
always
have one.
something
I have
to.
one.
What do you have?
yeah,
The one that I posted, the Commodore 64, the computer game,
that's so sick.
the
Oh
Yeah,
sealed copy.
yeah, yeah. I've
beautiful.
seen those before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh
those are
look, oh
crazy.
Retro's back. Listen, Retro pimped us for the show.
Fucking hell, boys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Retro pimped us. He brought us here just to like
We've
leave.
been freestyling to.
Fucking fucked. Laptop broke.
Oh man.
What?
That's all
It,
good.
it,
We're still on.
Yeah, yeah,
it,
we're still
it
going.
got too hot in here, Retro. Blow your computer out.
I wasn't fucking giving up. I reckon it was you that, Sergio, because I don't send you no fucking
he,
presents.
he said, "Yeah, if he send you a file, don't click on it, retro."
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Fucking hell. Fucking panicking then. I thought, fuck me, I've got the boys on, invited them on. They've all come on. Different fucking time zones, and I fucked it up.
No, man, we're just going back
Yeah.
to like nostalgia and growing up. What you know, what stuff. Especially Johnny was breaking down like his different collections and how they started growing.
Yeah. Fucking
You know,
cool.
like one of the biggest nostalgias for me, man. And I don't talk about it like too much, but I mean, I guess I kind of do. But Street Fighter, man. Street Fighter for me was
Oh,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
like, dude, countless hours of Street Fighter. You know, I can't even tell you how many hours of and Mortal Kombat, obviously. Like those two games,
Yeah.
Mortal
it was
Kombat for
going
sure.
down. You know, I was a
Man.
Super Nintendo guy. I mean, dude, like Link to the Past. I'm a big Zelda guy. I have the
Yeah.
emulators. You know, if you guys don't know, like obviously there's some collectors out there that probably doesn't even know this exists, but on your computer, you could download an emulator and it plays the game that you can, you know, play on your computer and just like, you know, bring back some good times. It's you know, and you could download it for basically free. Like you don't pay for it, you know?
Honestly, I have more fun playing the retro games than the modern ones right now.
Oh, come on.
Like
Yeah, of course.
like right now, I got my I have a HDMI Sega Genesis clone on my TV,
Mm.
and I've been
Right.
playing
Ooh,
Genesis
ooh.
a whole bunch lately.
Which
No.
games? Which games, Johnny? I grew up with the
Um,
Genesis.
the of course the X-Men. Those are the two big ones.
See, I never knew
On
about that one.
Genesis, there's a really good port of the Captain America and Avengers arcade game for the Genesis.
I
That
missed
that
that one.
game is like one of the because rarely when there's two games like when there's the same game for Super Nintendo and Genesis, more than likely the Super Nintendo has the cleaner version, the
Yeah.
music and the colors. But that Genesis version of the Captain America game is by far way better than the Super Nintendo. It sounds exactly like the arcade almost, and the graphics are great. And it's a really good port. The, the Genesis was I think a little more work for the developers to really
Yeah.
make the game for. Like with Mortal Kombat, um, the Mortal Kombat on Genesis, when you look at it, it's real rough.
Mhm.
The music is okay, but it's nowhere near as good as the Super Nintendo. But recently, these guys got together and they made like a hack
Mhm.
of Mortal Kombat. They call it the Mortal Kombat Arcade Edition, and it's like I don't know how many times better than what we got on the real cartridge, but
You
it's on a Sega
mastered it.
Genesis cartridge,
Yeah.
and it's like a hack. And I take the cartridge and I play it in my Genesis clone, and it's
That
just
wa- That's good.
better colors, better sound. There's the voices. It's crazy. But like another good game, I don't know if any of you guys heard it, was General Chaos on Sega Genesis.
Yeah. No.
No,
Let me
That
look
was
it
like
no,
up.
I don't
it's like a
remember that.
war strategy game kind of. So you and this other opposing army, you gotta pick your like battalions and you battle. So like
Okay.
there's like group of guys all with submachine guns, or
I
there's like a
remember the cover.
combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, General Chaos. That was endless hours of playing that with friends.
Yeah, I remember this cover. I don't think I ever played
Yeah,
it, but I definitely remember seeing this.
Yeah, I never played it.
one of the best games on Genesis.
Have you seen the
And then
prices of fucking PlayStation 1 games?
No, are they crazy
The what?
now?
The what?
Fuck me.
yeah,
Play PS1 games now.
Oh, come
Me and
on.
Jay,
That's what we're doing
about
now.
10 years ago, yeah, we started collecting PS1 games, like
yeah.
sealed games and shit like that. And like, we had the
Listen,
PlayStation
here,
1s and
here's the thing about, and I understand the whole like seal game, because everything's graded now, right? We got to grade everything. I
Yeah.
understand
well,
it, but you know what? I want to throw it in a PS1 and actually play it. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like that's the problem.
I would
Yeah.
like a nice copy that I could play.
well, that's what we did. But all we did was buying collections. So like, you might buy 20 games, but some would come sealed. So
Right.
like the Resident
Yeah.
Evil games were like, you'd have the copy to play and the sealed copy as well.
Yeah.
Listen,
And what we do, we split them up and sell the sealed ones and just keep the ones to play. So
Yeah.
the sealed one and pay for the collection, but we're selling the sealed ones for like $20 or something, and now they're like
Oh,
fucking $300-400 or something.
Really?
Fucking
That's
yeah,
crazy.
crazy.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
crazy. I was always trying to find the sealed Resident Evil, and it's tough.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one.
We I think we had one and two, like two copies of each, but we just got them in bundles. Like you just buy a box of games off somebody, and they were just in there. Like
Yeah.
Right.
but we just sold them straight away and fucking paid for everything. But yeah.
Dude, for me, a game like that I would love sealed is Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a big
Yeah,
one,
that's a
won't
big
it?
one.
Like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like when it comes to like SNES, like the old Fire Emblem, the JRPGs, like even because I was running emulators when I was in like you know middle school, high school,
Yeah.
Yeah.
pretty much when the internet came out, like emulators. That's how long emulators have been around, which is kind of crazy. Because I mean, I don't even know how like you could legally play these games, but they're just available. You could just download them,
Yeah.
play them, and stream them. But obviously, like at that time, but like the JRPGs, like Seiken Densetsu 3, Secret of Mana. I don't know if those like you recall any of those, but those
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
pretty like classic games. Like Chrono Trigger, Akira Toriyama did the art for that.
Yeah. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Look that
To
up,
te-
quick, Doom. Look up like Chrono Trigger, like Akira Toriyama. It's sick, man.
Tell you what was good
Super
about
sick.
those days, it was like fucking So we went from like Sega Mega Drive and Neo Geo and all that. Then the PlayStation came out, and then
Mm.
you could chip the PlayStations. Like the first PlayStation I bought, it came with like fucking 100 games or something, on the gold discs.
Mm.
So my brother was in Thailand, and he hooked up with this guy in Thailand, and we used to import fake games, but they used to come up like all printed, so they looked like a real game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Mm.
we got them before anybody else, and fucking hell, I made a fortune. Keep sending them over, and I think that was like the time of Tekken 3 and Resident Evil
Oh
2.
my god.
Yeah.
Tekken 3 was that's a big deal.
I used to
Yeah.
send a fax message. A lot of the games were Japanese, so they never came out an English version, which was super fucking cool. Just like playing anime on PS1. Just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
blew your mind. You put it in, you didn't know what you was getting. You know what I mean? Then this just fucking madness would come on the fucking screen. Oh, it was so fucking cool. Eventually,
Yeah.
Customs and Excise caught us because I was sending them to like my aunties. I'd send 50 to me fucking uncle, 50 to my cousin. And one day, they all got a letter off Electronic Arts saying like, you can either collect these games or we're going to dispose of them. But Electronic Arts are going to
Oh
sue you
wow,
if you collect the games. So
that's crazy.
I went to the local FedEx, and like I didn't have a letter. I had a letter to pick the games up, and I thought, oh fuck it, I'm going to risk it, and pick the games up. And I got them, and I never did it again. Like no, but it was cool that you could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Game Boys,
I
remember the emulators on the Game Boys, the cartridge, and you just have like every fucking game on the Game Boy.
Yeah.
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 That's wild.
Man, and come on, man, dude, the Game Boy. Like I didn't even like really pick up. I mean,
Game
obviously,
Boys.
like my cousin used to have the Game Boy, and I like whatever I borrowed his stuff. Like my thing was a Super Nintendo, but when Pokemon came out,
Oh,
that was
stop.
just like that
Stop,
was a game
stop.
changer, bro.
That's the one game I always. I think like 10 years ago, I was looking at eBay just trying to buy a Pokemon Red sealed, and I never decided to pull the trigger on it. Now it's stupid, but
Silly money.
that one, yeah, on the original Game Boy, and then the Game Boy Pocket was one of my favorite ones. I had a
Mm.
lot of those. The Advance. I remember playing like a Dragon Ball Z game on the Game Boy Advance,
I like the Game Boy Advance.
and
Yeah.
but one of my neighbors during the PlayStation there, one of my neighbors, I don't know how he got, but he had a bunch of Midway games, and they were just strictly Midway, the brand, the publisher, and he would sell them for $20. So those were like the only games I would play. A lot of NFL Blitz, a lot of it's just anytime a new one would come out, just go to his house, and then, he would have copies for $20.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
We
what I
didn't
used
ask
to do.
questions. We were like,
Yeah.
yeah. You see
You
all
can't
the
go wrong.
neighborhood kids just go to
Yeah.
every week. The only way we could afford like the new ones. We're like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
After a while,
Those
we
da-
would just buy different ones and just share them amongst ourselves. Like, all right, let me borrow yours. I'll let you borrow mine.
those days have
Mm.
gone now. Can't do
You,
that
you,
anymore,
you,
can we?
and one that I love, that besides Pokemon, on the Game Boy, for sure, that started like some serious fights was Pokemon Stadium. When that came out for 64,
Yeah,
like
Pokemon
it was
Stadium.
going down, man. Because it was like, at that point in time, it was like the only way at that point in time that you can actually play and see like your Pokemon do
Like
whatever their
3D.
their move
Yeah,
is. Yeah, man.
yeah. It
So
was a big deal.
yeah,
Yeah, those.
yeah. I'm surprised you guys say that you guys never play the like a lot of Zelda games. Nobody played Zelda here.
No.
No, I didn't know.
I would watch, the childhood friends play them, and then
Mm.
my brother-in-law's brothers they would play them. But I was never into the Zelda stuff. I did play Final Fantasy.
Mm.
Um, and there, it's funny enough, like Final Fantasy 9. I don't know if you played it, Sergio.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah,
ninth one, is that the one where they have like a card game inside that game?
yeah.
I would
Is
spend
there?
more hours playing the stupid card
The card
game
game.
inside than the actual RPG. But I think I finished that one, and then Final Fantasy 10 on PS2 was big too.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 7 for me is just obviously like I think I'm a little bit I have a few years on you, but 7 like that. I remember
I
it
played some
came
of that. Yeah.
it came in the demo. So like when you got the game, like you had like obviously back then, if for me, I got one game. I don't remember what it was, but it was one game and the demo. So until I got another game down the road as a kid,
The
Final Fantasy 7 was.
Pizza Hut demos were a big thing. Like there was a Tony Hawk demo from Pizza
Man.
Hut.
I
played the
definitely
shit out of
didn't
it.
have that.
Oh,
Nah.
that's yeah. Those were the
Tony
good
Hawk
days.
was fucking huge, wasn't it?
That was huge.
like
Tony Hawk's huge.
Tony Hawk is it's a big one.
1, 2, and 3.
yeah.
I
With
remember all of them.
me and my mate just used to spend hours listening to fucking Eminem and playing Tony Hawk
Yeah.
because it's about the same time. Go outside, have a smoke, come in, play an hour or two on fucking Tony Hawk. Go back outside, have another smoke, and that's because we weren't.
Yeah.
We lost the audio.
Oh, we lost the audio. Oh, there you go. You're back. We lost your audio for a minute.
We're back.
Yeah, we're back.
There you go.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were you saying, Richard?
The soundtrack of like Tony Hawk and everything, like it still,
Yeah, the soundtrack is classic for Tony Hawk for sure. Tony Hawk Pro Skater. And I don't know if you guys remember Johnny might maybe. You guys remember that they used to sell like those like magazines with like the CDs like inside in the polybags?
Yeah.
EGMs
and
EGM.
PlayStation magazines.
Yeah. This is speaking of nostalgia, man. Like, you know what a big nostalgia movie for me? It's probably like you could probably say it's probably one of my favorite, probably my favorite movie of all time. For sure. Like, listen, Turtles nostalgia wise, like I remember that like super hardcore. But Terminator 2.
Yeah, fucking hell. Yeah.
Terminator 2 for me, man. Like I remember. I'll never forget. I was a kid, and like those candy sales that you do, like the school gives you like these candies, and you go like sell them.
The chocolate bars.
So look, I sold all the chocolate bars, and for whatever reason, I had like the money with me in my pocket. I went.
Of course you did.
I went to I think it was like a Costco with my aunt, and it had just dropped on VHS. And I was like, oh man, like and I don't even know how I got through with it because I was with my aunt. She's like, whatever, you got the money, like pay for it. but hey, you know what? Mission accomplished though. I remember like buying that VHS when it first came out as a kid.
A win is a win is a win.
Yeah.
Making bad decisions since 1987.
There you go.
That's a fucking good decision, mate.
It's pretty legendary.
My brother-in-law, he used to work at Walmart when he was a teenager. He would tell me all these stories, right? And they have a big family, but he had like 3 younger brothers and stuff. So he would get them all the latest video games, Nintendo 64 stuff. And when they would ask him at the time, he's like, "Oh no, it's a 5-finger discount. You just grab it, and take it." They didn't realize until they were older, like, "Oh, you would just take it."
Oh god!
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yep.
If you don't do it, some other fucker will, won't they?
Yeah.
Well.
They're expensive too. Like it's still expensive now, but back then it was the same price.
Especially like the 8 and 16-bit. I remember the Super Nintendo games brand new were like $75.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but what we used to do is just like somebody'd have a console. We might all have a console at home. Not all of us though, because you might be paying like $300 for it. And you'd just go like, you'd all jump into somebody's house and you'd have like 6 or 7 of you sat there and like, right, it's your turn now. Like, you can have a go. And it's like, let me have a fucking go. And then Split Screen came out. And I remember the motorbike game, Road Rash. And you could hit each other with clubs and knock each other off the fucking bike. And that. It's like, oh, we can get 4 of us on this game now. This is fucking sound.
Yeah.
Nah, And it was good though, wasn't it? Just like brought you all together. I suppose that's like what we're doing now, only in a different way, innit?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
all gathering around the same thing. Yeah, growing up, somebody in the neighborhood would have the console and somebody would have the game. You just everybody shows up
You just all jump in, wouldn't you?
all day, just chips, whatever, soda, and
Yeah.
just play all day.
Any
Dude,
of you guys
I
familiar with the?
remember.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
What were you saying, Johnny? Go for it.
Any of you guys familiar with the 3DO, the Panasonic 3DO?
No,
I never played it.
I'm
Yeah,
not
I
even into
remember
that.
it. Yeah.
It's yeah, I mean hardly anybody ever had it, but I was fortunate to get one, and it was more toward the end of its life. But of all things, like nobody else I knew had it, but
Yeah.
my neighbor of all things had one. So when he found out I had the 3DO, I got all his stuff, like the extra controller, games,
Wow.
because his
Oh,
the original 3DO model had the sliding door for the disc, yeah.
it did. Yeah,
So
yeah.
the one on his broke, and the I had the newer model, which was just kind of like the PlayStation, where the door flips open and you put the disc in. But he's like, "Oh, you got a 3DO now?" So he gave me all his stuff, and it was so cool
That's
because
crazy.
I instantly had a library after that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And one of the games was Road Rash.
yeah, Road
Yeah,
Rash.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a big
and
game.
it was it was a really cool console. But
And
it
the
just it,
3DOs. Oh, I was just going to say they were big, Johnny. Yeah, like you're saying, it was a big thing, wasn't it, to get a 3DO? It was like
yeah.
mega.
See, when my neighbor got it, I think they paid like 700 for it. It was a really expensive console.
There was that in the UK. My mate bought one. I think he was playing golf on it. There was a really good golf game, and that's why he
Yeah, the
bought it.
YLI Golf. Yeah, that
That
was a
one,
huge
yeah,
game.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that's what he bought it for. And he paid like 700 UK, which it's not a lot different now. It was a fucking lot, yeah.
yeah. It was a crazy. When I got it, it was like a fraction of that. But
Yeah,
it came with this game Gex. That's one of the funnest games.
yeah, yeah.
I've seen that. Yeah.
It's a lot like Donkey Kong, but I like it more than Donkey Kong.
Mhm.
And then yeah, it's just it's but no, almost even to this day when I ask people, "Oh, you ever heard of the 3DO?" Nobody knows what it is. But it's
Yeah,
just
they
funny
weren't big.
because the other person I knew that had one was my next door neighbor. It's just crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember when the Dreamcast was coming
Oh
out.
man,
And
don't
that
do
was
that.
a big deal. And my
Yeah.
neighbor was the one who got it. It's weird. It's weird to see. Like what? I think they were $600 or something when they came out,
It was
Yeah,
pricey when it first came out.
or like
Yeah.
maybe more than that. So like, it's crazy because I would read like all like the magazines, like the Game Pros and the EGMs and all that, and then
Right.
you would get excited. Just this is before we used the internet. You would get excited. The promotion, the little thumbnails, and what the graphics were gonna look like. And then just going to his house and then seeing it like first day of release, like this is
Yeah.
wild. This is
Yeah.
wild. This is a crazy
Do
experience.
you remember Power Stone?
Of course.
Come
I
on,
remember
man, little
Power
Power
Stone.
Stone.
Of
You know
course.
that was starting fights for sure.
Oh yeah.
For
No, that
for
happened.
me, Dreamcast. I mean, I had like the Sonic and all that stuff. But man, like, dude, talk about like Street Fighter. We talked about Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Like countless hours
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
big one.
on Marvel vs.
That's the
Capcom 2.
one.
I think it's like the biggest fighting game possibly of all time.
Yeah.
It is. It
It
totally
is,
is.
isn't
That's
it?
why
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't re-release it for the current console so we
It's
can play
it's
We
it.
need
it's the
that.
licenses and stuff. It's it's just licensing. The bullshit like always.
Yeah, too
Like and
complicated.
instead of actually making like huge financial like returns on this, because you know that if that dropped tomorrow, you could drop a remastered version for like $70 and everyone's buying it.
I'm buying
Yeah.
like a console just to play it. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
anybody can get the smoke. Like anybody can get the smoke.
Oh, and I
Come
sucked
on.
at it, but I still love that game. Like I would play
Yeah.
with Venom,
No, of course.
like Wolverine. Like that's where like I played with the X-Men because Capcom I didn't really grow up with it too
You,
much.
you,
Yeah.
you know, it's funny when I played Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I didn't play with Doctor Doom.
You never,
I thought he was
Yeah.
kind
I
of like a
never
lame
knew.
character. I was more like, no way, dude. I was like Gambit, Spider-Man. I was pretty decent with Spider-Man.
Doom was powerful
Uh,
too. Doom was
he's a little obviously overpowered as he should be.
Yeah.
He
He's
deserves
really
that
good.
crown. But it
You know how to
wasn't
play him.
in my play style. There was just like more. Wait, there's so many characters in that game. It's crazy.
I
Like,
never
I
knew
had
Doom was a
Juggernaut.
character. I never knew that until
I had
recently.
I had two main teams I played with in that game. My first team was Guile, Wolverine, and Cyclops.
mhm.
And then
Cyclops
the
was
second,
legendary in Marvel's Capcom
yeah,
team.
he was
Yeah,
really good.
huge.
And then the second team was Magneto, Sabretooth, and Sentinel.
Oh man,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's kind of like theme
And it's
teams.
crazy because Sentinel is part of like the meta, like right, like that's like some of the best teams have like Storm,
Yeah,
Sentinel,
Storm.
Magneto.
Yeah.
That I think that's like the elite like meta team is Magneto, Storm, and Sentinel.
Yeah, definitely play with Storm.
what blew my mind was like the animation for the Sentinel. If you won with him, like
Oh my
there would
god.
like the winning animation, like he would stand up straight and like all his like panels would open up and like steam is shooting out.
Mm.
Oh, that was so badass. Like, but he was just a tank in the game. Him and Juggernaut. Juggernaut was
That
insane.
Yeah, Juggy was
that's what
good.
that's
He's
what
like
I was
half the
saying
screen.
before. I love Juggernaut because he was that
Yeah,
fucking easy and he just plow through everybody. It's like
yeah.
fucking yes.
I mean, what I loved about it was like he was literally half the screen. Like when you play with him, he's taking up almost 50% of the real estate. It's like,
And obviously you can't forget the Street Fighter characters like Akuma, Ken.
yeah,
Ken's one of my favorites. Ryu.
Akuma's my favorite.
Akuma's a monster. Yeah,
Yeah,
Ken.
Akuma's my guy. Listen,
Yeah.
when you pull off that move where he like does like the fade forward and grabs you like the
Oh, the
100 punch
Raging
like that.
Demon.
Oh my god, dude, come on!
Yeah,
Like that's just
I
crazy, you know.
Street Fighter Alpha 2. I got pretty good at that
hmm
one. It was the jab jab
I
forward short
love that game,
fierce.
bro. I
Yeah,
love Street Fighter Alpha 2. Street Fighter Alpha Zero. Uh, yeah, man. There's so many like classics, man. I know, Doom. Me and you talk about this too, and a lot of people may not know. Tokyo Extreme Racer Zero,
Oh, come
amazing.
on.
Yeah, that was
Come on.
cool. Yeah, that was a game. Okay, now.
Yeah.
That game is crazy.
Yeah, and that's Elusive says he played racing games. He didn't play
Nah,
racing games. He played all like the bullshit racing games.
that
He wasn't tuning
that
cars.
game.
Like if you didn't play Tokyo Extreme Racing, you didn't play racing games. Sorry.
That game has to be like one of the most balanced like arcade style like racing games
That was
you ever played.
that was Fast and the Furious before the first one came out.
That's
You
Yeah,
go
yeah.
behind them, flash the lights, and that's how you got rolling. Like you challenge
yeah.
people.
the
Oh,
Wang
that
Gang, like the Midnight Wang Gang.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
It's tight.
Has anyone seen the tra-
It's crazy because sometimes we send each other like photos of like cars and stuff, and we talk about the Wang Gang, man. If you guys don't know what that is, YouTube that. Like YouTube, like the Wang Gang racers of like the Midnight Club, Midnight Racers. It's just crazy what these guys are doing with cars, man. And for you
Yeah,
to join like the Midnight Club, there are some serious like criteria to like for you to be able to get the badge,
yeah.
And it's just crazy, like that. These guys in Japan and what they do with cars. I love seeing some of these Japanese collectors do like American cars, and they'll have like these old school like Chevys, and you're just like, damn, dude, like he imported that shit over there. It's crazy,
Yeah.
and it's just like super clean, like these guys just do it like different, man. The car scene, the way the Japanese do like their car scene is just crazy.
It's just their whole car culture is just so
It's just
fascinating.
crazy.
Yeah,
And it's crazy because like how certain areas will have like obviously like certain things, like these guys do like they have the Porsches, they have the old schools, they have like obviously they're imports, which are not as fun to them as they are to us,
right.
but these guys have like some crazy stuff over there, and it's crazy because like the car cultures you wouldn't even think. Like I saw like a video of some guys in Japan that have like a car with hydraulics, and you think he's like in South Central LA, dude.
What?
Yeah,
He
man.
has
I've
some
only
I,
seen
badges
a
I, I,
on.
few
got, I
up
gotta
there.
I gotta send you the video.
Oh, what? Now you're talking my language.
There's like
It's
a
just
whole
crazy,
Chicano
Lowriders.
subculture up there.
Yeah, they're like the Viet Mexican guys, right? Like
Yeah,
I think I saw something about that the other day. It's just crazy. Yeah, those
Yeah,
guys were in
check that out.
hydraulics in Japan, and I was like, well, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I
need to
know.
check that
I
out.
know. Like in the mid to late '90s, like a lot of the big super show lowriders, a
Yeah.
lot of them would end up getting sold to Japan, and like
Right.
the owners,
Really?
the car, they would end up shipping the cars up there, and then
Okay.
it's just a really huge thing in Japan.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
didn't know. I had no idea.
Like,
Sweet.
yeah, we think, we're talking about cars. You want to talk about car culture, man? Like, globally, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Listen,
Can you?
I'll never forget. I when I was on deployment, I had to go to this. I had to go to this mall called like the Landmark Mall. I think it's in. I don't forget what like little township it's in, but it's called the Landmark Mall. It's in the Middle East somewhere, like middle of nowhere, right?
Hmm.
This was 2000, like 2010, somewhere in between that time. And I'll never forget. Like I went to this mall. We were like doing something there. I go to like through the parking lot, walking through the parking lot. Dude, it looked like a fucking car show. Didn't even make sense. Like, I'll never forget seeing the two tone Rolls Royce
What?
when they like got re-released. Yeah, do you remember the two tone Rolls Royce back in
I
like
do, yeah.
2010?
Oof.
With the two tone, it was like I'll never forget it, dude. It was white and like a 10-inch two tone. It was sick. And these guys got out, and I was just like, wow, like that's just crazy. Like, oh, there goes the Skyline. Oh, there goes like the new Mustang that just came out in the U.S. It was a car show.
That's
That's so
crazy.
tight.
It's crazy. It was really cool to see, like especially like some of those American cars like in the Middle East. That's just wild. That's wild.
I did look. I haven't gone to a con, but I definitely gone to some car shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but when man, cop to collect, my homie Max.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If ask him about the Nights at Moroso. So Moroso, like it's like a speedway, like down here in Florida, and we used to like go out there. Dude, there used to be some shit out here called. Well, I mean, it's probably. I'm sure there still is. I'm just not involved in it anymore. But the US 27 out here in Florida,
Hmm.
bro. People will close that. Like racers will like stall traffic.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Do
one mile
they?
this way, one mile that way.
Do
Just
People
they?
line
race it
up
out. Yeah.
and just race that shit out. And when the cops
Fucking
come,
hell.
we're all gone.
So
They
that
still
So
really
doing that.
happens.
They're still
That is
doing
a
that to this
thing.
day. Yeah, over
yeah,
here.
of course, man. Of course, it's still going down to this day.
They're over here busting donuts in like intersections and just like holding up traffic, and it's been bad in Texas for like the last 3 years.
Is it?
Yeah. Dude, what were you riding like in like high school? Like, is there like a car you were like driving around in high school?
No, no, I didn't even drive much when I was in high school.
Yeah,
Yeah, I started driving later, but it was like a Honda,
the Honda, of
the
course,
Honda
man.
Accord with like this, like a obnoxious like kicker amp and like bass system with a kicker L7 and just rattling everywhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it
So
was
so you, so
stupid.
basically so basically you were like whamming through the neighborhood.
Yeah, of course, it was a Honda Accord. Shout out to
What
my
what wait
sister. It was
what
pressed
size
down.
was it?
It was a
What size
Honda.
was the sub?
Oh, it was the L7. It was like a 12-inch, the squared
Oh, okay.
ones with the
12,
big ass
Jesus
bar.
Christ.
I had a capacitor, an amp, the whole thing, bro. Like, it was stupid.
That's good.
It was nice, but those days, yeah, those were the
Gone
early
now.
days. Feels like a long time ago now.
It
Now
does,
when I get in a
man.
car, I don't even want to turn on nothing. I just want silence.
No.
Yeah,
Fucking hell, dude.
yeah, yeah. I
I've
remember.
done it
Yeah,
now.
especially when you're like fucking, tipsy, driving like 3 o'clock in the morning with the fucking
Man.
bass going. That was
It,
stupid. Yeah,
Yeah.
dumb times.
yeah.
That's yeah, man.
Dumb times.
That's what it's about, though, man. Like for sure, I had a 12 too. I used to have a Volkswagen GTI, which is basically, wham through the neighborhood,
Yeah.
you know,
Amazing.
just be obnoxious, man. Yeah, of course, man.
So I
We,
tell
we,
you
we all we
something.
all have our things, like we all do our shit as teenagers, and then now you look back, you're like, dude, what the fuck was I doing?
Do you know, Sergio, you can still buy brand new Mark 1 Volkswagen Golf GTIs in South Africa. They still make them.
Wow.
No way.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. My uncles live over there. We went a few years ago.
Like 0 miles, like fresh fab.
Fucking new out of the factory. They
Jesus
still make
Christ.
them, and
Yeah.
they drive on the same side as the road as the UK. So it's the
Yeah.
same fucking steering wheel. So I said to my uncle, who said, I'm going to have to buy one. and they weren't
Oh yeah.
expensive. I can't remember how much. I said, I'm gonna have to fucking buy one and send it over. And he said, you can't. I said, why? He said, because it's hot over there. Everything's made of like alloy and they're really light and this, that, the other. He said to get it into the UK, it just cost you a fucking fortune. You've got to get all the engine redone, all the fucking
So,
body redone. They said by the time you've done it, it's not the same car. But yeah, they still make them, mate. Yeah, it's
that's
fucking
crazy.
amazing when you see it. It's like Mark One GTIs everywhere. It's fucking you get every series of golf that they did. Just on the streets. They're
Mm.
everywhere. Oh, it's
Yeah.
amazing. It's so cool. Yeah, so cool.
That's kind of like how it was if you wanted to bring a GTR down here before the 25-year thing,
Yeah,
you gotta go through a whole process. And I
Mhm.
know one of the shops back in the late 90s brought down a R34 and they were drag racing it
Oof.
at the
fucking
Hawaii
hell,
Raceway
nice.
Park. I think it was called Atomic Motorsports. They had an R34, but supposedly it's ridiculous. I mean, it's so prohibitive. The way they make it, it's so you don't do it.
It
But
is.
some
That's why
shops,
I
I
didn't.
guess,
It was
some shops
just
don't do it.
Listen,
it
so
was just too
so
much
back
money,
in
to go on, Sergio. Sorry, I'm just saying it's too expensive. That's all.
Yeah,
uh, the racing scene here in like South Florida has always been kind of crazy because obviously you guys are talking about that ban, right, where we can't get like certain cars.
right.
Yeah,
So people out here, man, they were doing like motor swaps. They were doing like front end clip swaps. Like swapping interiors, like all kind of like craziness.
yeah,
And I'll never forget, dude. In high school, I had a buddy that and I want to say he was like the first in like South Florida back in like 2000, like three. Like 2000, yeah, 2003, 2004. He had a 240 SX with a Corvette motor in it, man. That shit was
Oh,
crazy.
Corvette motor.
that's
And if you
crazy.
know if you know the 240, like yeah, like obviously like the motor fits in there, but that thing is like stupid light,
Crazy.
Yeah.
you know. And it just doesn't even make sense.
Even
It's just crazy.
there's a lot of guys that were doing the RX-7s with the LS1s
Oh my
for
god.
the drifting, and right, it sounds insane. I mean, the LS1 to me,
Yeah, that car sounds crazy.
I not being biased because I'm a Chevy guy, but it's like you can do anything with that motor and it's bulletproof. So like they would turbo it, and it's just you expect the RX-7 to have that certain sound to it, that rotary, but
That
when you
13B
hear it like
Wankel,
with that
man.
high, it sounds like a Camaro, and it's like what the fuck? Well, it's drifting around the parking lot like nothing, and I guess it's less maintenance than the rotary, yeah.
Yeah, I mean those roadies are so prone to like blowing, man.
Yeah.
Like yeah, they run great. Those 13B Wankels run great, but something goes wrong with it, dude, and the whole system is done. The
Yeah.
entire system is done. Like that ball bearing goes wrong in there, it's over.
Yeah.
So
It's,
that's the thing.
it's
Like
crazy.
those motors are beautiful. The design is beautiful.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just that when things go wrong, they go really wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just high
Uh,
maintenance.
the
I
other.
personally love the Datsun Z's, the Datsun was it 270
Yeah.
Z's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are nice.
dude. If I had a chance, man, I would for sure like pick one of those up. Those cars are too sick.
Wait, but
Back when. Oh,
go
sorry. Go
ahead.
ahead, dude.
No, I'm saying
The
you guys would want to race them and shit. See, I was never one of those
Nah,
guys trying to race cars. Like I've
no.
at this
always
point
been
I'm
like,
cruising.
I just want to cruise with the fucking stupid subwoofer on. Like that was my whole thing.
yeah.
Never want to race. My brother-in-law had like a Jaguar. He was trying. I don't need all that trauma. Like like, we're good. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to be when people are racing. There's too much going on. Like just let me listen to some music. Let me chill out.
Just chill out and ride.
Chill,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, even that's funny that like cars and stuff like that in general, and like racing and cruising and the subwoofers that brings back some nostalgia too. That's just
Oh
just
yeah.
different. And now
Yeah.
like hey, like we're all old as fuck and we just want to like cruise. The
Yeah.
music for me. I don't even love music.
But most of us
Like
don't even want to leave the fucking house these days,
Yeah,
Sergio.
nah, I don't do.
I don't
I
even
know.
want to fucking go out.
No, I don't want to go nowhere.
Listen, we have a saying in Spanish, and my mom always says, no quiero salir ni a la esquina. It means like I don't even want to
Yeah,
go out to the corner, you
yeah,
know.
Yeah.
yeah. No,
And
no.
for sure,
Just
listen,
click some stuff. Get a ship.
uh,
Yeah,
listen, in my and at least now that's like the situation, right? Because you could like Uber Eats yourself out something, but
yeah,
dude, like you know what I do, like as a profession. There's just some days where I was just like, dude, I'm beat. You know what I mean? I don't even want to open the door to my apartment. I just want to stay inside. You know?
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
And I'm cool with that. Like honestly, like that's so much. Going back to like the mental content, it's so good for me mentally just to like be inside because Miami's a crazy place, man. And like I've lived here my entire life. I've been outside my entire life. I've done it all. You know what I mean? Like I've done whatever you could think of, like the biggest clubs and like all this stuff, dude. I've done it all. You know, and I could still do it if I chose to. I make a phone call, boom, we're in there. But it's just like, man, like at this point, it's just exhausting to be outside sometimes. You know?
See, Sergio, this is my argument with Andrea. So we came back. I lived in Spain about 3 or 4 years, and I wasn't going to come back. And
Mm.
for whatever reasons, we did come back, sort of thing. And then ever since we came back, Andrea says, "Why don't we do this or that?" I said, "I don't want to do." She said, "Well, you don't live in fucking Spain anymore." I said, "Well, I liked it in Spain. I could be in my apartment. I could just like go to the beach, quiet, chilled out, no fucking drama." And she says, "Yeah, but we need to do stuff." And I said, "Yeah, but I've done everything. Like, I've been out to the clubs. I've been out and done whatever I did when I was a kid. Like, I've been out with the cars, with the big fucking amps in satin fields, smoking and doing whatever and blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
And I said the same thing. I said, "I've fucking done a lot of shit." You know what I mean? I've been all over the world. And like, now I reckon I'm just like, I'm happy with, I mean, I've rock climbed all over the world. I've done all sorts, like we all have. I said, I'm quite happy now. I just sit here with my cards and my comics and like do research and like buy the odd shit and like do podcasts and stuff like that. I said, I'm all right with that. I'm just like, yeah, I'm cool
and
with it.
and and no harm is being done. You know, we're all just hanging out. You know,
Zero, yeah, yeah.
and listen, something that I remember, I'll never forget. Obviously, that my sister's older than me, so obviously, like all the life lesson shit that my mom would like have to school my sister on, I had to hear in an earlier age. And obviously, like there's some points where some people listen to some stuff or just decide to do whatever they want. But I'll never forget my mom would tell me, uh, so some of your friends are only your friends like when they want when they want to be your friends. Like that, like when you need them, they might not be there for you, stuff like that. And
yeah,
I had to hear that from my mom to my sister. And at least in her situation, some of that stuff was like for sure true. Because in moments that it wasn't going great, like they weren't around. Like where are your friends at now?
yeah.
And another part to what she used to tell me, and that I probably think that it stuck with me, like the reason why I like being inside. I remember she'd be like, man, like at one point, like you'll be taking care of like your own situation, like with your home and stuff like that, and you're gonna see how expensive it is. You'll realize like that's like your safe space. You need to actually like enjoy being home.
Yeah.
And I do. Like I have a great time at home. With my buddy and my cat, and with the homies online, and we're just hanging out, and no harm is being done.
Love it.
Like
Yeah,
this is like a positive thing that's like happening in my my collection, like life.
I think to like
That's
wrap
awesome.
it up maybe, unless you want to chat. If you want to do a bit longer, I'll do a bit longer. It's up to you boys. Do you want to
Oh
do a bit
man,
longer?
whatever you want, man.
Re- Retro. Could I just ask you what part of Spain you lived in when you were over there?
Andalusia, southern Spain.
My
So I worked in Gibraltar, which is British. So it was quite cool because like I crossed the border every day, and then
Mm.
where I was working halfway up the rock, it was like I came from Spain. I've gone to England, well the UK, and I can see Africa. And like we
wow.
went to Morocco once, and in one day we just like went from Spain, went to Morocco, came back from Morocco, went to Gibraltar to have a couple of beers, like me, Andrea, and Jameson, and it was just so cool. We said we've been to
Yeah,
like three countries and
that's
two
Yeah.
crazy.
continents in one day. Just like for us, like yeah, cool.
It's
Yeah,
I've never left Hawaii. I've been to the other islands, Big Island and Kauai, but I've never been to the
Nice.
mainland or Europe. But I've always wanted to visit Spain because on my mom's side, my great grandma and my great grandpa came from Madrid to Hawaii.
Okay,
They're
yeah.
from Madrid, so I just always wanted to see Spain. I don't, it's a long shot, but maybe someday.
Spain is
Yeah, man.
wonderful. It's well, Spain's like different. So if you go to Barcelona, more towards the north, and you go to the north in the Basque Country, it's like the weather's like Britain, and it's a different language. You've got the Catalans. Then you move down to Madrid, and Madrid is like really cultured people. Who like that's where they say they speak the best Spanish.
Right.
And then you go south to where I live, and it's like the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
It's like you still got Russian gangsters who chop people up there and bury them in the
Yeah.
desert and shit. You know
Wow.
what I mean? It's,
Oh
it's
man.
like I'd be traveling to work, so there's a place called La Linea, close to the border, and that's where all the drugs get smuggled. From Morocco to Spain,
Oh
and they
my god.
still do it. I'd be
It's
traveling to
crazy.
work at 6 in the morning. You see the boats pull up, and then you'll see the boat pull up on the beach, and there might be like 10, 20 kids on scooters. They all come on, throw a big bag of weed on front of the scooter, and then they just all ride off in different directions. The police don't bother them most of the time because the police get paid so little money that
Right.
they take money off them. But
Yeah.
when you're working in Gibraltar, you can see like the smugglers' boats, like the police boats following them round and round, like going across the straits and that backwards and forwards. But suspiciously enough, the police never catch them. They hardly ever catch them. It's like and it comes on the radio like, "Oh, we can't believe it." The Guardia Civil they just managed to nearly get them, but never did, and all that sort of stuff. Also,
Yeah.
honestly, it's the wild, wild west down there. I loved it, but it's like you can travel an hour away, and you're just in an amazing little village, and away from like the tourist beaches and this, that, the other, and it's really
Yeah.
quiet and chilled. Well, except for barking dogs. You know what it's like for barking dogs out in the country. They're everywhere, aren't they? But
Yeah.
no,
So cool.
it's cool, Johnny. Honestly, the food's good. The people are really fucking nice. There's a thing like the English people think that Spanish don't like English, but that isn't true. The
Yeah.
problem is that English people don't try to learn any Spanish or any of
Yeah.
the culture. So
Mm.
if you learn one word, 2 words, I could get by, but my Spanish was fucking shit, really shit. But because I used to try, and that was enough,
Yeah.
and it was, yeah, I loved it, Johnny. Yeah, if you
I
should get the chance.
I always wish I picked the language up. My great grandma spoke it very fluently. My grandma could speak it, but like by the time it got to like my mom them's generation, they didn't pick it up. But I always wish I picked it up and I was able to speak it.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
beautiful language.
it is beautiful, and it travels all over the world as well, doesn't it?
I remember my
Spanish
great
is
grandma
huge.
always, yeah, like I just remember my great grandma always saying how beautiful it was in Madrid, like how she used to describe it.
Yeah.
Just
I have, I haven't been to Madrid, but I've been to Barcelona quite a few times. And,
yeah,
I love Barcelona. Fucking get Reto back in there.
that's
Was
so
it?
cool.
Yeah.
The what's
There's
going on? Sorry, yeah, I got disconnected really quick. I hear you guys are talking about Spain, and like, man, uh, I
Oh, I
remember
just
like
love it.
I remember me and Retro spoke about the food situation because like, man, Spain has some like crazy, crazy like food.
Yeah,
Uh,
fucking hell.
I don't know if you guys ever tasted pata negra, like the Iberico ham, like the real
It's the
shit.
best.
No.
It's
the
the
one they
best.
slice
Jesus
real thin, yeah.
Christ. So that's the ham, but there's like obviously like the rest of the pork, tastes. So these pork eat like acorns to finish like their feed, before they cook them.
Wow.
Right.
So the fat in that pork is just crazy, man. I can't even. It literally tastes like an acorn, like I can't even explain it.
That's
It's something that
crazy.
you have to like taste, but yeah, those Spanish, man, they do some crazy stuff. Like when it comes
Well,
to obviously like the seafood, like the pork stuff.
when you go up into the mountains, like, so I used to go rock climbing there, and way out in the sticks. You know what I mean? You way out in the sticks, but you're an hour away from the beach, if that makes sense. And once you get to know the locals and that, so what happens is the whole village will go out shooting. They love shotguns. They love hunting, and the whole village will go out shooting, and they'll go. You're not supposed to hunt wild boar, but they turn a blind eye and they do hunt the wild boar. And they cure it themselves as well. So not just the Iberico ham that you can buy everywhere. They also do like their own homemade version with the wild boar. Oh,
That's
fucking
wild.
hell.
Wow.
You haven't tasted anything like it. Well, you have like the ham, but it's like, because it's homemade and and
Yeah.
the morcilla, the black pudding. I'm sure you have the same over there, don't you? It's just like you put it in your mouth and it just melts. It's the fucking Spanish food is so nice, so nice.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. They got some crazy stuff. I keep telling Doom, I want to see like that barbecue. I want to see that good shit,
Yeah.
Come on, man, that Texas barbecue, man. Like,
It's
hey, listen,
everywhere.
I know. Hawaii has their version. I know you guys cooking like palm leaf and stuff, right? Like underground.
Yeah, that's the emu. Yeah,
Come on, man. I need that in my life.
it comes out super tender.
Jesus Christ, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, they do. I know Mexico. They do a lot of that underground. Just put a
The
hole in
barbacoa, right?
Yeah, barbacoa.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? I need that.
Yeah, that's yeah.
And the suckling pig, you must do suckling pig like the Spanish do, like the suckling pig.
Mhm.
And no, I don't know how the fuck they do it. They must like barbacoa for like 4 hours. And it's like crispy on the outside, and you pull it, and it's like this crisp, and then you get into it, and it's just all sweet and soft and juicy all the way into it. And a bottle of red wine or a beer or whatever you want to get, and it's fucking. You don't need anything else in your life. It's just like that's
simple, man.
This is me.
It's just simple, yeah.
I've arrived.
Yeah, I remember I've never traveled much. I mean, I've gone to the furthest place I've gone is Monterrey, Mexico.
Okay.
I have an aunt who lives there, and there's like next to like some mountains. Like that was the first time seeing like mountains, like just crazy. It's crazy when you leave your own surroundings and you see something you haven't seen. But going to like the ranch where my dad's family's from, and like the first night seeing the difference, like, oh, there's this is what stars looks like, right? Like you live in like the city the whole time, like you don't see shit over here in the United States. Once you go to Mexico, it's like, whoa, you can see everything. Like there's a lot of shit up there. Yeah, it's just a different experience and like just easy, people just, especially when it's like cold in Mexico, just huddling around like a fire, cooking some, chicken, whatever you're doing, just talking, just people telling stories around the fire. Like that's simple life. Like that stuff was some of the most like precious memories I have. I haven't been there in like over 10 years, but yeah, man, that stuff, simple life. It's awesome.
When I used to spend a lot of time rock climbing in Malaga, close to where I lived, so it was perfect for me when I moved over there because I've been going backwards and forwards for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I had friends who lived there. So basically, what they do, they'd be like a climber's lodge, and you go and pay. You can have a tent or a room. But I have friends there, and they just lived there for years. And all they did is like they'd make the breakfast and maybe like clean the rooms, and they just lived there for free.
Yeah.
And when you're up there, it's just like you can see the Milky Way. You can see the fucking galaxy of the Milky Way, and it's
crazy.
Like, And some days I might be there, like say I went for a week. I might only climb for like 2 days sometimes. Half the time we spend just like sat around the fire and just sat looking at the stars and chatting and just like living simple, like no internet or any of that. Like you said, doing exactly the same, just like chatting and doing nothing, chilling.
It's crazy that like for the most part, like for I guess like for the mass, we're probably like some of the last generations to even know what that shit's like. You know what I mean? Like before internet was even like a thing. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Can you imagine what some of these kids are gonna do? Like not knowing what internet is. Like
they all have iPads and iPhones and all that. Like back then none of that existed, right? Like we were just killing time.
That's what I say. it's special like when we talk about watching some of these cartoons as a kid, because like obviously like some of us caught the reruns, but like man, like when it first came out and you caught it, like for me, Pokemon, no, I mean X-Men for sure. Like I was watching like every weekend as a kid. That was like by law.
Yeah.
But like I think Pokemon. I was like what, like 10 years old when it came
Yeah.
out. Dude, never missed an
Pokemon.
episode.
Power Rangers was a big deal.
Never missed an episode of
Yeah.
Power Rangers. You know,
Batman
never
animated.
missed an episode of a lot of stuff. For sure. Never Superman though. It was never. I didn't care for Superman.
Yeah.
No, not me either. Just like some white all-American guy and who just fucking can do
With
everything.
this huge chin.
He's got no problems with nothing. You know what I mean? It's put a pair of glasses on and nobody knows who I am. It's like, come on.
Yeah, like nothing's a struggle for him. Yeah.
No, for me it was the Hulk. My first one was the Incredible Hulk. So I used to watch the
Really?
$6 million Man,
Yeah.
and then the Lou
Oh,
Ferrigno
yeah.
Incredible Hulk.
I still
And
watch
I've been-
reruns of that. Retros.
Well,
They show some of the older shows. I'm like, oh, I'll watch them in the morning.
I've been thinking after opening that. I opened the Hulk box that you
Yeah.
opened with Vic the
Yeah.
other week, and I opened one for Mental Con, but we didn't have a chance to show the stream. And I'm looking at the covers and I'm thinking, why the fuck do I not like collect the Hulk? Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? He was like, he was
True.
depressed and then he went fucking nuts and he had like two characters and like you
Yeah.
could just relate to him, couldn't you? It was just like,
Yeah.
I relate to that. You feel alone and angry and pissed off or whatever. So I
Yeah.
shouldn't say it, but I might start collecting the Hulk. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's one of them. I felt the same way when we were looking at it. Like, man, definitely. Yeah. You have your good days and bad days, and you just.
Yeah, I think that's what I like.
I think everyone could relate to that. Yeah.
If it was something like that, man, I'd have to collect like the turtles. Like to bring back nostalgia. Like one of my earliest memories is just like the turtles that were passed down to me from my cousins, because I had a bunch of them. So all their it's crazy because I've told doing this story, but all their toys got passed down to me. But when it came like time, all my stuff got passed down to my cousins in Nicaragua. So all my PlayStation 1, all the games,
But that's what you get.
all the
That's what you get.
systems. For being Latino, that's what I get for being
No,
Latino.
no, that's what you get. It's what you get because you had cousins you can get stuff from. See, I live with two sisters. I was the only boy, so I didn't get anything passed down to me. I had to fight for my Ninja Turtles, man. I didn't have an uncle who would show me shit. Like I had to figure it out myself. So, the earliest memory, like Ninja Turtles to me is like the first, the most nostalgic thing. Even though Batman animated is like it's probably my favorite one. Because we would walk across. Me and my mom would walk across the street to the supermarket, and they would have VHS rentals, and she would rent a VHS of the '80s, the '88 cartoon, and I would just watch it, and I'm probably sure I watched it like 1,000 times. Like it was the same episode, but I would just watch it all day. That was I learned English because of it. My first language is Spanish, so that was some of the first stuff that like introduced English to me, and just drawing, just laying down and drawing and watching it. I'm sure I knew it by memory and it bugged her, but like as long as I was doing something, we'd go and rent it every day, right? Like, and then we would walk,
Awesome.
we would walk and return it and then get another. I think it was like 99-cent rentals back then. Like it wasn't crazy, but
Nice. Do you know what? I was watching TV with my grandson Harrison the other day. People have seen him on YouTube here and there. He comes and sits on my knee and stuff. And I thought it was brilliant. We were watching this cartoon. I don't know what channel it was on. And it's like these pirates, but the pirates like speak Spanish and English. And all the way through the cartoon, it's like teaching kids Spanish and English, because they keep swapping over from one to another.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's fucking genius. Why did it take so long to do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Retro, you know what I was a big fan of? You remember like the weekend, like Schoolhouse Rocks?
No.
I
You
remember
remember that
Spawn.
stuff?
Yeah,
Oh man,
No.
like that area, like those like cartoons.
yeah.
I think they were. I want to say they were what, like on ABC.
Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
ABC. Yeah.
Man,
I didn't see
dude, I
that.
used to crush. You didn't see that?
No,
I'm
no,
a, I'm
no.
a, you ever seen like the little? It's like a bill that he's like singing a song, but he's like talking about like the U.S. like Bill of Rights and stuff like that. No.
No, no, no.
Yeah, UK, you missed that one for sure. Johnny, did you get that one?
Yeah, I remember those.
It was probably some US propaganda shit. Retro,
Oh
don't worry
man,
about
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
come
but
to the dark side, Retro.
it.
talking in propaganda, we've
The one,
said this before. With the Turtles, it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the US. When they brought it to the UK, they changed it to Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Could never figure out why.
They didn't
Why do
want
you
to
need to call
suggest
it?
the
Hero
violence.
Turtles.
Exactly that, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that's fucking crazy. Because it was like I was probably 16 I was 16 in '89, so I was probably 16 by the time it came over. And
Yeah.
I watched it from being like 16, 17, 18. Used to go to the shop and buy like Ninja Turtles bread and that. This is a kid who's fucking 18, going out getting pissed, getting off his head and like messing about with girls and that. And I'm still watching Turtles and eating Ninja Turtles bread.
Yeah.
Turtles are amazing. Like Johnny said
They
before, the
were.
movie, the Turtles movie. I remember the
Yeah.
Turtles movie and the Spawn movie. Nobody seems to mention it, but I like the Spawn movie when that came out. That was huge.
I mentioned that movie. That I remember, like, dude, my cousin, he was like always like the bad influence, but he's also the one that I always mentioned that that used to like have the comics, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, he took me. He was like, you know, just a little bit older than me. Obviously, the movie was PG-13. Or no, was it rated R? Listen, he took me to that movie at the movie theater. I remember like seeing Spawn at the movie theater, and you know, at that time, uh, it was just cool. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I didn't even really like. I never seen the comic, obviously, like till much later, like as a kid. But when I
Yeah, me
figured out,
too.
like, yeah, this thing exists, like, yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah, as a kid, I just thought it was a Spawn movie because
Yeah,
he
me
collected
too.
mostly like X-Men stuff. He never picked up like Spawn stuff.
No.
But well, I mean, that's a pretty. Do you like that movie, Retro Spawn?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's
For,
dark,
for,
isn't it?
for, for what it was, yeah, man. And John
Yeah, yeah.
Leguizamo, I think I did a good job as the
Yeah.
violator.
No, it was fucking super cool. I used to watch it over
And,
and over again.
and one movie I love that Retro mentioned today was From Dusk to Dawn. You said you
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Selma Hayek.
Yeah.
Dude, that movie was
Oh,
classic.
beautiful woman on the planet. This like shit. She's still fucking gorgeous. She's got her own money. She's fucking intelligent. She's fucking. It's just like, yeah, yeah. I'm in love. And even when I say to Andrea, like, Sam Hayek comes on, and even Andrea says, like, yeah, you're right. She said, I can't even argue. She's just got everything. She's like, yeah, anyway, I don't need to go in why she's got everything. She has got everything.
Yeah, that's a good one. You know.
Oh,
For
what
sure.
a movie! I watched it maybe like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
I
What a
haven't
fucking
watched it in a
movie!
while. I need to watch it. I haven't watched it in a long time.
Desperado at that time, and you had Desperado 2, and it was like
Desperado. Yeah.
these were the best fucking movies coming out, weren't they? Like you think,
Yeah.
like they
You
make
know
you
what
think
it
of.
is. Oh, but no, go ahead, Retro. Finish it.
Oh, I was just thinking like when Johnny was mentioning Sergio Leone not long ago. I don't know whether it was here or somewhere else, and it felt like important as that when the Rodriguez movies came out. It felt
Yeah.
like fucking like when Tarantino came out. It was like real people,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like fucking. No, I mean not real to English people as much, but just like what we grew up with and what like as a culture. It's like we don't want to see Superman and Clark Kent. And be honest with you, Captain America and that. I've no love for none of that shit really. I don't mind
Yeah.
it. It's all right. But that was me, and it felt like a new fucking era, didn't it? It's like this is what we've been wanting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Go on, Sergio. Sorry, mate.
Oh shit, I forgot.
You forgot, haven't you?
Wait, what was the first movie you guys saw in theaters? Because
Me?
Oof.
I think the first one I ever saw was Jurassic Park.
That's so cool.
I think so.
For me, I think it was Gremlins 2.
Oh man,
Nice.
Gremlins.
I think that was right before Ninja Turtles. Or, yeah, it was Gremlins
Yeah,
2
I think
for
it
us.
was. Yeah,
Gremlins
yeah.
Yeah.
was dope.
I've got two. I'm going to choose. My first one was Star Wars because
Oof,
I'm that fucking old.
oof.
And after Star Wars, my first like coming of age movie was Blade Runner with Harrison
Oh, okay.
Ford when I was about 12, and
That's
still
cool.
one of the greatest movies to this day. It's
I,
just like,
I still need to watch that one. I haven't checked that off the list.
oh, I love it. Yeah,
I need to watch
I
it.
fucking love it. Yeah. What did you watch, Sergio?
Uh, I think one of like the first that I can remember, man. I was probably like 4 or 5 years old. Uh, was it like the Robin Hood movie? It was like a Robin Hood movie that came
Yeah,
out.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Like, what's the guy's name? I'm really bad with like actor names.
Robin Williams. Oh,
No,
Kevin
it's
Costner.
yeah. I think so.
oh yeah. That's a
Time
different
as
one.
like was it same time as Terminator 2 or before that? I don't know. I can't remember. I'm so
I don't
fucking old.
remember. I didn't
Yeah,
see Terminator 2 in theater. I know that for sure.
no, it
Like
was
I
yeah, it
remember
was
like a
before.
memory as a kid, like watching like some kind of like uh, was it Kevin Costner?
It
Some
was
kind of like
Kevin Costner.
Robin Hood
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
There,
what
And
were
I,
you
there
thinking
was.
about?
I remember the mask also being like one of the
Oh,
early
Oh, that was
ones.
huge.
Yeah.
Mask was
I,
huge. Yeah,
I'm
you,
always
you,
seeing the
you,
lines at work. The
which one?
the mask. The PART. Why? Because I gotta. Just
That was a
all
big
kinds of
deal.
lines from that movie. But I'm always quoting that movie.
That's a big. It's funny because I haven't seen it since. Right? It's weird. I need to do that. I need to watch it
Oh yeah, I
just
think that's
one
my
time in
favorite Jim
theaters.
Carrey movie.
Yeah.
yeah. That was cool. It came out at the
Nobody else
same
could have
time.
pulled that off.
No, nobody. No, it came out at the same time as Pulp Fiction '94. I
Yeah,
think if I
Oh
remember
yeah.
rightly,
That's one of my favorites too.
that was
yeah.
like a good fucking year.
I
I've
need
always wanted to go
Pulp
back and
Fiction.
try to read the comics because it was based on Dark Horse Comics, the limited
Yeah,
series.
The mask.
And from what I heard, it's the comics are way more violent. But
is it?
I just never got to it. But the movie, I love the movie.
No. Yeah,
I'm
man.
looking forward to Blade. We're gonna have to mention Blade while we're on movies, aren't we, Sergio?
Listen,
It's got to be.
if they fuck Blade up, there's like no hope left. You know what I mean?
All
No,
right.
it's
Well,
not.
you gotta choose one. They're either gonna fuck Blade up or Fantastic Four. Come on.
Fantastic Four.
I,
Fuck it up.
obviously, I mean, you know, I know which one I'm gonna pick, but I'm just gonna say, listen, I hope that Marvel is making like a reroute on like what they're doing. I saw a review of like the second episode of Secret Invasion. I watched the first episode. I enjoyed it. I haven't watched the second episode. I'll probably watch it like after like you know we finish up here. But you know, people are already hating on it. And they're saying, oh, it's like the worst, whatever. It's like, damn, dude, like you know,
It's
give the show a
cool.
chance. Give the show a chance. You know,
It's cool so far.
People are mad. People are mad because like it's like an AI generated intro, dude. I don't care. You know what I mean? I think the intro's cool.
Uh,
It looks like it fits the part of what you know the show's supposed to be about, right? The scrolls taking over.
yeah, it has
So
definitely like the X Files vibe, like the Outer
I like
Banks
it.
vibe.
I like it. Like I get the whole like hey the artist thing whatever, and of course like you know I don't want to veer too far away from that either. But it's you know it's just an intro, guys. Like you know, and it's for
It's
some
a cool intro though.
it fits the mold, I guess you can say. You know, I enjoy it.
It's cool. I like
So
that.
hopefully they can make a turnaround. Like obviously, like look, they're producing these shows now. If the
No.
shows like take off and do well, like look, the Daredevil show, I still watch and I enjoy.
Yeah,
Well, the Netflix, yeah, the ones that came out before the Disney Plus, yeah, those, even the Punisher ones are good. I like
yeah.
those.
Punisher is
Um,
really
I,
good.
I
Yeah.
haven't got to the Punisher, but I'm
What
gonna
you
try to
haven't
get to
seen?
Daredevil.
Come on.
Oh,
Come on,
Sergio, you
Sergio.
gotta do yourself a favor and see it, man.
Yeah, bro.
They
There's
did a
what,
really good job
2 or
with
3
Punisher.
seasons. Yeah,
Yeah.
But the
it's
problem is,
really good.
I barely watch like TV. Like if I catch a Daredevil episode, it's like maybe like 2, 3 like a week, maybe. You know, that's a big
You
thing.
busy watching anime, man. That's all.
Come on, man. You know?
It's all good.
Yeah.
No, they need to do
So,
animation movies again. Like, let's just start doing
please.
animated, big budget animated movies. Come on.
Yeah,
Like
Marvel
They're
needs.
gonna do one.
success with Spider-Man, you know, like
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't mind, just because I feel like, kind of like you said with like nostalgia, right? The reason why I'm excited for X-Men '97 is because like my nostalgia when I was watching cartoons was probably one of the recent memories. Weirdly enough, Bucky O'Hare. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember that.
I remember that as a kid, and that was like really weird. But X-Men, like animated and like the animation stuff. Obviously, like Batman Adventures, like there's so many like cartoons that came out back in the day that I think would hit a good like tone with this generation, because
Yeah.
I guess we enjoy. I've always enjoyed animation stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
I just think it's like a safer bet because it's just like less like everything. There's no risk, like there's no like physical risk to like the voice actor. All he has to do is come like speak, and you guys take care of the rest. There's no CGI, there's no anything, and if Spider-Man can like be this like huge success, like I'd like to see it in like revamps of like shows, like not like remasters, but like man, like tell some of the stories. The comics are there. Like obviously, like let's be honest, guys. Like some of the older comics are a little cheesy, but make it good.
Yeah, you can change it. It's no
Make some good
problem.
stories, change it up. I don't want to
change it anyway, so it doesn't matter, does it?
Exactly.
I just hope with this X-Men '97 that like the animation is like 2D animation as it should be, and not like over digitalized or like feels like CGI or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And listen, here's the thing that like bothers me because like everything now is like a remaster, right? Like all the movies are just like basically like the remaster of something that's already existed. So you're trying to like retell the story now with like a live action and like all this good stuff. And I get it. Like you're trying to bring some of the older nostalgia to the new kids. I understand it, but guess what? You're never going to beat the original.
No.
So that we just have to like put that there that there's never going to be a better remake of whatever that's better than the original. Maybe some stuff like selectively, but I just don't like the whole like the repeat and it's just like recycling. It's just like over recycling. Like like I guess for the fun, like hey, like maybe like a Freddy, like no, was it a Jason like 21? But like come on, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like. Yeah. Make new movies that like I think that's the reason why the certain movies that I do enjoy are things that like don't really get like remade like that, or like I guess if they did, they don't even matter because I don't even know that exists.
Yeah.
Never touches the original.
That's my problem with the Spider-Man movies. It's just like it's an origin story every time, and it's like, oh come on, for fuck's sake, we've seen this 3 times now. It's just like. At least with the X-Men movies, no matter what you think of them, I liked them. I know they went they went worse, but at least everyone was different. Even if the movie was shit, there was like telling you the Dark Phoenix story or like Apocalypse, and it killed me that they fucked them 2 stories up because they were what I was waiting for.
Yeah,
but at least they were different
Both
stories.
times.
It wasn't,
Yeah.
And I hope we get a remaster of some of those stories, man. Because the Phoenix Saga is it's crazy.
It deserves to be done right. Like
but
for me.
But so do you think, Johnny? Let me ask you a question. Like obviously, because you like the animated stuff too. Don't you think it'd just be easier to recreate these stories like through like some X-Men '97 stuff?
Totally.
Like if you created like yeah.
And like one of the things I would like to see, and it's just fantasy because I know they won't do it, but it's like if they did the Wolverine limited series as like an animated film, like a 2-hour, and like how the DC they do the DC animated, they try to emulate the artist style. So like the Dark Knight Returns animated movie that's Frank Miller. You can tell the animation is done as Frank Miller's art. if they did the Wolverine limited series, like a faithful adaptation with Frank Miller's art style, but animated.
That would see because I haven't read the comics, but I've heard about those arcs.
Oh,
Like
dude,
just
it's
getting to see those animated would make me
yes,
want to go to the comic books because the
it
first thing
is.
that to me I grew up with the cartoon. I'm a cartoon baby. Like that's
Yeah,
the
Yeah,
first thing. But like
that would be like my fantasy project would be that. And
man,
there's a scene in the comics that I was so disappointed they didn't put it in the movie with Hugh Jackman, because the Hugh Jackman movie, it's that story, but they really went on their own way with that.
mhm.
Like I always thought it would have been better if they kept it more street level. Like the ending with the robot, it lost me. I
yeah,
when
me
I,
too.
I
Yeah,
when we walked out of the theater, my brother and my buddy that we went with, they're looking at me like, oh, they kind of enjoyed it, and I didn't want to like bum them out, but they're like, oh yeah, it was good, yeah. And I looked at them and I was just shaking my head when I walked out. I was just like, oh, like Hugh
You're
Jackman
Debbie
did the
Downer, man.
performance well, but it just when the Silver Samurai armor came out, I was just, you lost me. To me, it would have been
yeah,
so much better if even if they stray from the comics, like I always say, like if they had Mariko's dad Shingen, if they had him don like an adamantium armor and become the Silver Samurai and fight at the end,
that's right then, isn't it? You
I
just do
think that would
that.
have been a better ending.
Yeah,
But
then this 10-story fucking robot. It's like, where did
yeah,
that come from? It's
that
like, hey,
he lost me. But there was a scene in the comics that it's my favorite set of panels, and I'm gonna end up sharing it on IG.
Mhm.
It's a scene where Wolverine follows Mariko because in the comic the story is different where Wolverine goes to Japan to find Mariko because he was a long distance relationship with her, yeah.
Mhm.
So he stops getting letters from her. So he's like, I'm gonna go over there and see what's going on. So he finds out that the father married her off to a Yakuza boss.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
And Wolverine's getting ready to kill the guy, and she's like, "No, you can't do that." Like, because in Japan, it's very the daughter is bound by the father's honor, so she gotta fulfill it, or she has no honor. And then when he finds her, he the husband beat her already. She has like a black eye, and that's why Wolverine like when he comes through the door, Wolverine picks him up with one hand, and he has the claws out. But she's like, "No, you can't do this." So throughout the story, he follows her and the husband. They're watching a kabuki play, and Wolverine from his time in Japan, he knows the play. So he's watching them do it's like a dance, and then the guy draws the sword, and Wolverine knows, like he can tell, I guess, like how the sword unsheaths the sound. It's a real sword,
Mhm.
and that's when he knows it's a hit. It's an assassination attempt. So in that split second, that samurai pivots and goes for Mariko. Wolverine catches him, intercepts him in midair, cuts the guy in half, and he's on stage now, and all the other kabuki performers draw their swords and they fight him. It's just him versus like seven
Oh
other
fuck.
guys, and he ends up wiping them all out. But one of the guys hit him in his neck, and like his inner monologue says, "Is like, oh, it's a perfect cut. If it wasn't for my skeleton, it would have cut me in half." But instead, it drove me berserk. So he just ends up killing the rest of the guys on stage. And then the last panel is him standing over all the dead guys. But Mariko, she's covered in blood, and she's like, she never did see him go berserk before. So he's
Oh
kind
okay.
of,
Yeah.
so there's that anguish now. Oh, like she
Yeah.
saw this side of me that he
Yeah.
never wanted her to see
Saw the
this.
monster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And to me, that was such a powerful, like the way Frank Miller drew it, and the way it has like the inner monologue. I was really hoping to see that in some form on the movie, and
Yeah.
they never even mentioned it. I mean, it was a totally different story, like the circumstances and everything, but they could have squeezed it in somehow, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would've been
Especially
easy.
when you're putting out like some kind of like origin like situation, like origin story, where you're trying to like explain like what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, like where's the origin? I mean, that if the way you're explaining it, that sounds like crazy. I'm definitely gonna look up the panels for that.
It's a beautiful scene, and if they put it on film, it would have been a crazy fight scene. But it's just the impact, like, and we didn't really get it till Logan, but like a good berserker rage. It's not something
Yeah.
we saw too much in the movies,
No.
but it would have been really cool to see that and have like. That's the part I think they don't write Wolverine like that too much. He always has that struggle. It's kind of like the Hulk, but on a smaller scale. Like he's got to keep that temper in check because when he reaches the point where he goes berserk, friend or foe is fair game. Like I remember in like a lot of the Claremont stories, like one of them he went after Nightcrawler when he was in that rage. So it's I always thought that was interesting, and I guess the character has to evolve, so they kind of made it where maybe he doesn't do that so much. But I always thought that's something he should never lose. Like that's something he's always gonna have to struggle with. Because when you see Sabretooth, I always thought that's the interesting thing about Sabretooth is Sabretooth is what Wolverine would be if he didn't keep his temper in check or try to keep his rage in check.
Yeah,
I blame it. I blame it on Jean Grey.
Of course.
And then she's still over here with like Cyclops, but I blame that strictly on Jean Grey.
Yeah. I hope they do it. And I know a lot of people don't want to see an X-23 movie because they're saying, "Oh, it's shit."
I want to see one.
I do, but I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's shit. She's just going to be the female Wolverine and that," and she's not. She'll be her own character.
Yeah,
but I hope they do that with X-23 and show like when they give her the pheromone and she gets the pheromone smell and it just takes over and she just wipes fucking everybody out and assassinates the president and all that sort of shit, and it's like that'll be so fucking cool. Do it. Make it right with X-23 what you fucked up with Wolverine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Basically, like
the girl they had play her in Logan was great. And by now she's old enough where she could probably play a grown-up X-23.
Yeah, definitely. And she said that she wants to do as well. She's
She'd be
always
amazing.
said, yeah. And that'd be so fucking cool because then you could get into like the X-Force story, couldn't you? You know, if they wanted to bring other people in, you could even get to the one where like they bring in Venom. Is it Venom X-23? Oh, fucking hell, who's the other one? There's three of them, isn't there? It's not the Hulk, is it? I can't remember. I haven't read the books, but I've seen the storylines. But they do bring everybody else in anyway, you know what I mean? So if they want to do that sort of universe, they can do.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that would be dope.
Yeah, because she's cool. You know, I don't mind like a female character if she is her own character. But if you're just going to make like Lady Iron Man for the sake of Lady Iron Man, I don't want to fucking see it. You know, I mean, I don't know fucking Leo Free Comics will know the story about Blade. Can't remember the name. Bloodlines.
Yeah.
See, I fancy that. I think that'll be a good story. To me, that's good. But don't give me a character who's black and make him white, or who's white and make him black. Or if you're gonna make a character, make like a fucking. Look at Spider-Man. We got Miguel O'Hara and we've got Miles Morales. Make a new fucking character. Don't like change people's colour and race. Don't be fucking stupid. Just make a new. That's insulting. If anything, it's fucking insulting, isn't it? Just make a new character. People will like it. If it's good, people will like it, won't they?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with like. Oh, go ahead, Sergio. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's just like, especially when they got like this story like 60 years of continuity, and then they change it. It's kind of rough.
Yeah. They have so many characters to pull from too. So I just hope these writers get paid and be happy, so we can get better productions and better movies.
Yeah.
Well, who knows?
The
That
thing
stuff's
that
going
is
crazy.
sus. Yes. Like from what I remember reading an article, and it was saying like they're not hiring directors or writers that are fans of the comics. They don't want that.
Yeah.
It's
And
crazy.
to me, it's like, well, what are you doing even making these films for then?
Yeah.
But
like-
listen, the crazy thing is that it's not so much for the sake of like rewriting the story, right? It's just getting context. Like this is what it is. Like this is this character, you know?
Yeah.
like if you're writing or directing some shit for like Wolverine, I think I would hope that you would go and like look through like Wolverine panels and just do some homework. Like
Yes.
it doesn't mean just make the same fucking comic copy paste because like I
Right.
said, some of these older comics are even at some points kind of cheesy, right? Like
Yes.
but that's not the point, like it's about like the images, like it's about what you should be like getting inspiration from.
I mean, they have
Capturing
no,
the essence of it.
yeah, they have no excuses. Like they're all profitable. You have the talent, you have the history, you have all the the books to go by. Like there's just no excuse for lazy writing. None of that. Like it's yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not too hopeful they're gonna make things. Yeah. I enjoyed some of the movies. Some of the last ones have been terrible for me.
Ah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I didn't finish the Kang one. The the Thor one was bad. I like Black Panther was cool, but
Yeah. That was a good one.
it it's been a lot of misses, and at this point, man, I just wish they would do more animation. Just
That would be sick.
if it's a money cost thing, I don't know, like how you, I don't understand it. I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
But we'll
Yeah,
see.
how much you think those people got paid for like Spider Verse voice?
A lot, I would say.
Does anyone know? Is that like out there? I'm sure it's out
I
there.
don't know, but I think it took them like what 5 years to make this last one. Like it's a
What?
long process, and maybe that's
Is
what
it?
that's that's the that's the only thing they would have
You
to
see,
look at, and maybe that
and then
stops them.
those are things that bother me because it's just like it took you 5 years to make this movie, and I haven't seen it yet. I hope to see it. I try not to
I
like
haven't seen it yet either.
spoil it for myself,
No, no.
Yeah,
but when they're saying this like it's this great movie. It took them 5 years to create, but then you go back to like the old stuff and like the stuff that we were watching, right? How long did it take 5 years to create X-Men animated? Did it take 5 years to create like Batman?
I
The
have
Batman
no
animated
idea.
series.
But it's a different,
I don't think so.
this was a major budget like animated movie. It's how long does the Pixar films take to create? I don't know. It might be like on the same time length.
You'd
Uh,
think, yeah, it'd be quite a while, wouldn't it? Because of the
yeah,
technology and the changes and fucking.
but I
Be
mean,
like,
if you can do that, I mean, but look how successful it is too, right? Like it's just I don't understand why they don't have their own division of animated stories. That way we can see like specific storylines, or if you want to introduce certain characters before they go into the MCU, like they should be able to like cross pollinate and do a little bit more of a balance. But maybe with we're getting the new Spider-Man animated show. There's the X-Men 97. There's a couple other ones, so I'm sure they've been working on some stuff. I don't know if they're gonna do major budget animated movies, but it would be nice to see something else that's not Spider-Man.
yeah,
Even though I enjoyed
That's
Spider
what I'm
Verse,
saying.
like it's amazing. And this new one, I can't wait to see it. But yeah, there's so many other characters out there.
Yeah.
X Men seems like obvious. Like a whole
Yeah,
yeah,
generation grew from that. Like it's an
Yeah.
obvious place to go choose, storylines from.
yeah.
and
Because
I'm glad
I'm like
they
50. Oh, I was just gonna say like I'm 50. I watched it. My son Jay is 27. I got him watching it, and like Harrison's now 3. So when the new one comes out, we'll probably all watch it
Yeah,
together as 3 generations.
yeah,
And it just makes like tons of sense, doesn't it? It's
yeah.
Totally.
And then
right.
sprinkle in some Fantastic Four characters in there too.
There you go.
well,
Right,
that's
boys.
that, that's
I would
the cool
go
thing
on,
about
sorry.
that's the cool thing about just the animation is that like at any point in time you could like put in a character and like make it like for the story of the day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
With these movie stuff, like you can't really do that. like if they did like something fun, like kind of like what we talked about, how it's kind of like Schoolhouse Rocks, right?
Yeah.
Like if they could just make like some like mini animation like Schoolhouse Rocks that comes on like mid show or something, just like it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like I think people would. I mean, that's for me. Like that's a nostalgia. Is like watching like stuff like that on ABC, like the Schoolhouse Rocks, the cartoons, like mixed in.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's that hard. If they were doing it back then, like why the fuck can't they do it now? It should be easier now than it was back then.
Should be. No.
Right, boys. I'm going to call it at 2 hours and 20 minutes. This is the longest one ever.
Damn.
You broke the record.
The People's Choice Award had broke another record. It's been fucking nice talking to you, boys. It's been really cool. We've gone through just everything. You get tired of talking Marvel all the time, don't you? It's like fucking.
Yeah.
There's loads of questions I could have asked Johnny about his Wolverine collection. There's like loads of questions I could have asked Jesus about Batman. Sergio, I could just go on for fucking ever, and we all could. But it's just nice to do something different. It'd be nice for listeners to listen something different and just like us just hanging out and just chatting normal as normal people do.
Yeah,
No jumping on like hit the subscribe, blah 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 blah, this that the other, and fucking just chat and chill and get hang out together. I'm gonna steal this off the NSDC. Have you got any shout outs, boys?
Shout outs. Shout outs. I'll let you guys go first because I'm thinking.
I was talking story on IG with this. We've been following each other for a while since I started. It's Augustine. His page is Destroyer117. He's a Wolverine fan too. He does some legit like cosplay and art. So shout out to him. He's got a cool page.
Nice.
Sergio?
Man, shout out John Beatty, man. Thank you.
Nice.
That's all I got for that one, man. Big thank you for sure.
Yeah. And I guess for me, shout out Variant Section.
Hey.
He hit me up lately about some cards. It's fun to talk about Doom cards every now and then because, believe it or not, I don't really talk about them much. With the guys, we all kind of know all the information. It's cool to educate people and just provide some details that other Doom collectors, and then just shout out to again all the people who were at the Mental Con, the whole community, the roundtable guys over there, Alonzo and them, everybody. Yeah, it's cool to see. Every day someone has a video, so it's not on one person's responsibility. Everyone's contributing. It's cool to see that. Retro for sure. Anytime you drop a podcast,
Yes, sir.
I'm listening and working. Always great to have new podcasts to listen to while I'm working. So awesome, man. Keep it going.
The same as you do, man. I'm going to shout out and the hobby collecting community, not just the Marvel guys, just everybody who was involved in Mental Con. Everybody who did everything, like what we all pulled together and did as like fucking a global crew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm going to shout out all those people and the people who are going to be involved in 24, as you boys are already, and other people are already. I'm going to shout out those two, and let's keep it going. Yeah. Right, boys. Thank you very much. You've been gentlemen. I love that. Nice one. Everybody listening. Cheers. Catch you later.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Easy.
Thank you.
Later.
Boys.